The story begins with a white-haired lady sitting drinking tea. At this time, everyone in the hall is gossiping about her. The girls say that this is the same lady that the prince was chasing. She made such a fuss and now she is being matched with another man. The ladies think that this is still impudence. Her chosen one is Duke Rodney. The women begin to discuss the Duke and say that he really has a divine appearance. Just look at his dark, like the night sky eyes and hair like silk. They wonder if that villain can threaten him, and then they calm down a little because she is a talented magician, and the girls are afraid that she will send a curse on them. Lady Yvonne Argentrose is the name of the main character. She is the youngest daughter of the Argentrose family, a mage and a famous villain. Rodney Yells is the Duke of the Northern Lands of Yells. He asks Yvonne if she is comfortable. The girl replies that she does, but then corrects herself by saying that she doesn't. She thinks that the Duke is so amazing that her heart is beating too fast. The Villainess tries to pull herself together. Yvonne looks at the boy and asks him to listen. She apologizes for saying this on their first date and asks the Duke to lend her some money. Rodney and everyone around him are speechless. The girl always wanted to become a villain rather than the main character of the novel. Even if she was scolded and pointed at, she would still stay with the villain who was born into a rich family. Yvonne didn't want to have a life full of troubles and toxic people where her life would end in such a miserable way. The girl is pulled out of her thoughts by a maid who asks if her mistress has an appetite. The main character realizes where she is now and cries out that everything is very tasty. How can one lose one's appetite with such a luxurious breakfast? Yvonne began to live the life she dreamed of, reincarnated in the body of the rich villain of the novel. She is very happy because her dream has come true. Fantasy novel Cordelia's Light. Lady Yvonne Argentrose is a cruel and immoral villain. Having learned about the engagement of her beloved Adrian with the main character of the novel Cordelia, she made a contract with the devil and gained the power of darkness. The magician Yvonne became even stronger thanks to the demonic power. She turned into a great dark magician and tormented the main characters. In the end, she met her end, tragically dying. But the main character cannot allow such an ending because among all the villains of the novels she read, she envied Yvonne more than others. She was the youngest daughter of a duke. Her family owned an orichalcum mine and several mines for the extraction of precious stones. They had their own trading company that traded the best magical items in the empire. And her father was the owner of a magic tower because over the long history of the family, many magicians were noted in the lineage. Yvonne also had that same press-perfect figure and unique beauty and also abilities in magic. She is just perfection itself. The girl thought about how in her past life she was an orphan, lived in the slums, and worked endlessly at night. Compared to this, Yvonne's life is too much for her. The Garden of That Moment. The girl's task is to be happy for the two main characters and their happy ending, and it is only necessary to bypass this mine in the form of the main characters, and Yvonne will never become a dark magician. The maid turns to her mistress and says that the Duke has come to her. The girl jumps out of bed and sees her father. His name is Kaiser Argentrose. He is the head of the family and the owner of the magic tower. Yvonne's father says that he gave a test line and the young lady did not regret it at all. He asks his daughter what she is up to again. Before the main character got into Yvonne's body, she did something terrible, threw a bomb at the place where the main characters were having a date. There were no victims, but throwing a bomb was too much. The girl thinks that it would have been better if she had reincarnated before Yvonne did it. So as soon as she got here, she received a punishment which consisted of the girl having to sit in her room without going out. She could eat whatever she wanted and lie on the bed whenever she wanted. The main character thought that if this was a punishment, then let it last forever. Yvonne is already wondering if she ate and rested too much. She apologizes to her father, saying that she will be quiet and think about her actions. But the father does not believe his daughter and asks if she can sit quietly in one place. After that, he calls the adjutant. The girl thinks that they want to kick her out, but the head of the family tells his servant to give Yvonne a task with those documents. The girl is shocked and is happy that they won't kick her out after all, but she has no idea what this task is. The servant says that it will be too difficult for the lady because the documents related to the March branch are, of course, a simple task, but such a quantity is for the mistress. The main character is already thinking about how many documents there are and preparing for the fact that she will have to work at night here, too. Her father shouts that from today the girl will work 6 hours a day. Yvonne is even happy about this fact. This is heaven for her who worked 15 hours a day. Her father says that he gives her a week to complete this task. If this time the girl runs away, he will cross her out of the family tree. The father warns his daughter to do it right. He leaves the room, and the main character thinks that even if it wasn't complete harmony, she was glad that she had a family. On the first day of the girl's appearance in this world, her father called her crazy. Yvonne. It seemed that he hated her. The white-haired lady tells her maid that it's great that she wasn't kicked out. She says she wants something sweet, and the maid says she'll bring it to her right away. At this time, Rodnane is working with documents. His servant asks if he is reading these documents again, but Hertz says that they were just lying in the desk drawer. The ward says that judging by the lack of news for 18 years, everything has long been forgotten. The guy says that the father was worried until the end that he could not repay this debt. He even wrote a will so that his son would certainly fulfill his request if he returned. The servant claims that if necessary they will right themselves, and there is no need to think too much about it. The Duke agrees because there is no point in worrying about something that has not even happened yet. The ward Genya says that he is sure that this man will not get involved with the Duke. Rodnane says that this is said too confidently, but the servant assures that he has a premonition that never deceives him. The guy does not think that this is right, but will try to believe him. Kaiser sits at his desk and looks at the documents in shock, asking if his daughter did it. The ward says that she came up with a good idea. The father does not believe that Yvonne could have done it. The servant claims that in this way it will be possible to immediately evaluate the monthly sales of the company. The method of organizing square tables is a real reform. He notes that he knew Yvonne had a lively mind since childhood, but she turned out to be so unusual it was surprising. The Kaiser thought his daughter would not like working with documents. He orders Yvonne's personal maid to be called. When she enters the office, she greets her master. The father of the main character wants to ask the maid a question and asks if she has noticed anything strange in Yvonne's behavior lately because she is the closest to her and probably knows something. The maid claims that she also wanted to talk to him because, to be honest, after the master assigned punishment to his daughter, she became very depressed. The Kaiser is very surprised because she used to not react when her father scolded her. The maid continues her story and says that her mistress began to eat about half of the usual amount. The father does not cease to be surprised because his daughter has eaten 6 times a day since childhood. The maid says that she heard from other maids that the mistress has tidied up the desk in the office. The Kaiser, noticing that his daughter has changed so suddenly, must have a reason for it. He thinks that it is most likely because of the prince, since his open refusal must have shocked his daughter. The father reproaches himself for not knowing this and only scolding her. He concludes that his daughter still cannot forget the prince. Yvonne is sitting in her room and eating sweets. She didn't think that her Excel skills would be useful to her. The girl was worried in vain because she thought that something serious had happened. The maid tells her master that although the white-haired lady does not show it, it seems that everything is so. Yvonne, lying on the sofa, thinks that every day could be as calm. The Kaiser, sitting with a cup of tea, can't stop thinking about what happened. He thinks that his daughter was so much in love with the prince, and he didn't even look in her direction. Yvonne is easygoing, active, has a beautiful appearance and magical abilities, and she is the eldest daughter of the Argentros family. The father of the main character ponders what the prince was missing because it seems as if he deliberately goes on a date with the illegitimate daughter of the ruler of the Mare Kingdom. The Kaiser furiously slams his hand on the table and understands that he can fully understand his daughter. Yvonne at that time comes to the table. Seeing the actions of her father, she asks if something happened. The father answered that no, and called her to quickly come to him. The girl sat down at the table and asked if there was any problem with those documents because she tried, but if she made a mistake, she asks to ask for it. The Duke is shocked because Yvonne has never apologized before. He replies that everything is just wonderful, and he and the adjutant are completely shocked by the girl's work. Yvonne is very happy and thanks her father for the compliment. He also notices that she smiled, and before she did not pay attention to the praise. The father of the main character tells her that today she looks happy. The girl agrees. She thought that today her father would scold her, but it seems she was wrong. She says she didn't think her father would praise her. Kaiser says that up until now, Yvonne has always been up to some kind of mischief. The white-haired lady says that she is guilty and sorry for causing so much trouble to their family. From now on, she promises to be more careful. In her thoughts, she is happy that she will rest at home and enjoy delicious food all her life. But suddenly, her father shouts and asks why his daughter is so downcast. Are there any flaws in her? He calms down and says that he punished the girl himself so that she would improve. But seeing his daughter in such a state, his heart is uneasy. Kaiser says that he bought a house and the girl can break everything there to vent her anger. Yvonne doesn't believe what she just heard. The servant says that the Duke has installed a shield near the house and the girl can not only use magic but also detonate bombs. Her father says that the girl can go there right now. But she asks to wait. She thinks why destroy the house because she dreamed of having her own house all her life and does not understand why her father has such a happy face. The main character tells her father that he punished her because she was guilty and she does not have to destroy the house. But the Kaiser in a rage pronounces his daughter's name and asks what's wrong with her. He uses his magic in a rage and asks who this prince is that brought his daughter to this. The adjutant calms the heroine's father. He apologizes and says that he got too excited and asks to forgive him if he scared her. Yvonne says with surprise that this is amazing because her father used real magic. The same one is a little embarrassed and asks what is surprising about this. The main character notices her father's embarrassment and thinks that perhaps he is softer in character than he seems. The father tells his daughter that if she wants something she should just say so, if she wants a romantic relationship, that there are so many men in the world who are much more worthy than the prince. Yvonne, hearing that her father will fulfill any of her requests, remembers that in her past life she did not have the opportunity and tells her father that she would like to study. The Duke, hearing this, asks whether his daughter said the word to study. The adjutant says that it seems she did. After the reincarnation, the main character did not know much about this life. She wants to learn everything. The girl is very happy that she can focus only on studying. Since Yvonne is also a mage, it means she can control magic like her father. But she finds it strange that for some reason she can't master books on magic, although she has no problems with reading. The main character wonders if this could be because she is not the real Yvonne. Of course, she doesn't need magic right now. She thinks about trying to use it just in case. The girl remembers what they usually shout in cartoons or novels, stretches out her right hand and says, "Fire." At this moment, her brother comes into the room and asks what she is doing. Yvonne is confused and wonders why he had to come in at such a moment. Yvonne's brother is Bardin, who called her a crazy dog. He is the son of Duke Argentros, an assistant professor at the Academy of Magic in the Faculty of Magicians. The main character asks her brother what he is talking about. Well, he says that he is shaking from her words. First, he asks his sister to answer whether she herself put the sails in order and made the tables. He wonders why the girl suddenly wanted to study the main subjects. Yvonne claims that she just wanted to. The guy asks what happened to his sister and asks her if she wants to get the title. But the main character does not understand how her brother came to such conclusions and asks again if he was talking about the title. He answers that yes, it could be useful to replace the little Duke. Yvonne screams in rage that she just wants to help her brother and their family. Bardin didn't expect such words at all. He doesn't understand why the white-haired lady wants to help him. Yvonne says that the monsters used to appear once every 10 years, but now this period is getting shorter. Her brother also knows about this because he participated in the battles. The last major battle took place 5 years after their appearance. It is obvious that the next war will be even larger, and most likely will happen in 3 years. Bardin knows, but asks what the girl bases her conclusions on. At first, she doesn't know what to answer, but then says that her conclusions are based on the fact that she spent the whole day studying history, looked at when major battles took place, and checked for monsters in those battles. The main character handed the guy a piece of paper. He looked at it with surprise and asked himself in his thoughts how Yvonne found out this herself and collected the data in a table. She reproaches her brother for what he said, that the girl is trying to get a title. Bardin asks what his sister is really after then, since she is not the type to help just like that. The main character thinks how suspicious he is. She says that, to be honest, it was very hard for her, but she wants to help him and his father live a calm life. The girl asks if her brother understands her, but he still doesn't really believe her and suspiciously asks what she said. Yvonne is already furiously repeating the word brother. Barden mentally calls his sister a crazy dog and thinks that she really has gone crazy. He blames the crown prince for this. A boy comes into his father's office and says that Yvonne is acting strange. Kaiser asks if his son has noticed it too. The father says that his daughter said he was amazing, and the brother says that the girl called him brother. They think that the prince's refusal was a big blow for Yvonne because she said that it was hard for her and now she wants to live a quiet life. Also today, the teachers who came to her said that her thirst for knowledge is commendable, but her gaze is full of madness. Barden concludes that she is not herself now. He asks what is so special about this prince. Kaiser says he wants to introduce Yvonne to a man who is beyond the prince's capabilities because maybe her condition would improve if she went on a date with someone better. Barden agrees, saying it's better than sitting at home all the time. The two of them grin wickedly, and the brother asks if his father has chosen a candidate. Rodnine claims that Ant's instincts have failed him again and orders him to prepare everything for the trip. He now has a reason to go to the capital because the Kaiser has sent him an invitation to an official meeting with his daughter. 18 years ago, the previous Duke of Yels was a rather straightforward and self-confident man. He took part in the fight against monsters, trusting only his sword. However, during the battle, he was trapped in the flames. At that time, Kaiser Argentros was passing by heading north to get medicine for his sick wife. The great move of the Kaiser helped the Duke in that dangerous situation. Thus, the Yels family found themselves in great debt to Argentros. The proud father was on the one hand grateful for the rescue, but asked not to disclose the fact that the magician had helped him get rid of danger. Once tied, he promised to fulfill any requests the Kaiser made. Now, thanks to a letter, the forgotten oath has come back to life. A servant asks if the Duke really intends to go there. But he claims that Ant himself saw that the prince had a lover, which greatly upset the Duke's daughter. The ward tells his master that Duke Argentros is overstepping his bounds because how can one remind him of the oath for such a purpose? He claims that Rodnine is not obliged to meet his daughter because of this. But the Duke does not listen to the boy with blue hair. He says that a new suit must be ordered and gifts prepared in advance. The servant does not understand why his master is so eager to do this. After all, this is Lady Yvonne Argentros herself. She has done so much in her life. Why should Rodnane help this villainess? But the Duke is adamant. He says that he will certainly pay off his family's debt, and the time has come for this, especially since one should not forget about his father's will. Antu cannot overcome his master's stubbornness, and he says that he will send a letter stating that the Duke is heading to the Yels estate in the capital and also plan a visit to the atelier. Rodnane becomes curious about how terrible a person the Duke's daughter is. The next day, Yvonne is heading to the capital in a carriage. A girl on the street crosses her gaze and tells her friend about it. She claims that they need to get out of here quickly before this villainess does something. The main character, of course, assumed, but did not think that everything was so bad. Barden claims that girls are still afraid of his sister, and her reputation is still strong. Yvonne asks him in her mind if he likes the way his sister is treated. The family arrives in Natsiel. The main character is delighted with the place. Her brother asks if she has forgotten this place because she hasn't been here for a long time. The white-haired lady wonders how Yvonne decided to throw a bomb in this peaceful place. The brother whispers in the main character's ear that if she wants to blow something up, then let him tell him the guy will lend his sister an artifact. The girl says that it is not about that, and in her thoughts asks herself what is wrong with them, both father and brother. She turns her gaze to the imperial palace and thinks that it is much more beautiful than she imagined. But her father blocks the view of the palace and tells Yvonne not to even look in that direction. The main character is in shock. The brother asks her if she still regrets, but the white-haired lady asks why she should regret. Do they really think that the girl is still in love with the prince? She tries to tell her family that she forgot about the prince. Her brother and father, of course, don't believe her, but it's true. Together they go to the best tailor shop in the Empire, Elmador. The workers greet customers with warm smiles, smart games, and you don't notice that their reaction is completely different from when Yvonne came alone. She always came here alone. The workers never said a word to her. The girl was the lonely and abandoned daughter of a duke. The white-haired lady was a little saddened by such memories. Her father asked if she was okay. The girl replied that she was okay, and her father ordered the workers to pick out some suitable outfits for her. The brother says that Yvonne shouldn't yawn and should quickly choose a dress for herself. The girl is very touched by this because it seems like they specially dragged her here to cheer her up. She is very happy that she now has a family that takes care of her. The main character tries on many dresses but cannot choose because they are all very beautiful. The brother says that the girl looks good. The father agrees because his daughter is the most beautiful lady in the empire. One of the workers asks if he should show them the shoes on the stand. But the Duke furiously asks what he is talking about. The brother says that the heel looks too high and dangerous for his sister. The father adds that she might twist her ankle. After that, they leave the studio and head to other shops. The Duke, taking the exquisite summer hat in his hand, says that it will suit Yvonne very well. Barden just points at the jewelry and tells his sister that it looks good, and she should try it on once. Yvonne can't help but smile and laugh happily. Her brother and father notice. The main character apologizes, but the two tell her it's okay. The father claims he remembered the village mother because she looks a lot like her when she smiles. The brother decides to interrupt the conversation and suggests going for tea. Kaiser says that it is a great idea. Barden adds that there is a cafe nearby. The white-haired lady does not understand what is happening. It seems to her that they have arranged all this on purpose because the two are talking so unnaturally. The girl already wants to go home. When the family enters the cafe, the brother and father ask Yvonne if she likes her purchases. She says that she likes it very much and thanks for such gifts, but as she already said, the white-haired lady is going to study to be useful to her family, so she has nowhere to wear these outfits and probably should return half of them. Kaiser and his son are indignant. The father asks why there is nowhere to wear them. Barden agrees with his father and says that he will introduce Yvonne to a good man in 3 days in this cafe. The main character remembers how they sat at the table and asks herself if he was joking last time. Kaiser claims that he has already taken care of everything. And this man's name is Rodnane Yells. He is the young head of the Yells family, one of the most respected families in the empire. He is a master of the sword and the guardian of the northern gate. The white-haired lady thinks she has heard something about him too. They say he is handsome, a gentleman, and a well-rounded person who is admired. Her dance teacher said so. The main character asks her relatives why such an amazing person needs her, the villain Yvonne Argentros with a terrible reputation. The father and brother do not agree. Kaiser loudly asks who dared to give his daughter such a nickname. Barden says that even if he calls his sister a crazy dog, she is a completely decent girl. The main character is very touched by the fact that these people are now protecting her, and it really is like her family, although she is not even the real Yvonne. The Kaiser has gone to the tower. Barden has some business. They are both so busy, but they found time for Yvonne. The knight asks the white-haired lady if she has finished and yawns. The main character notices that when her father was here, the servant behaved differently. The girl decides to teach him a little lesson and says that he has something on his hand. She screams that it is a wasp and starts hitting him on the arm. The knight screams and falls. The white-haired lady does not think that it was that serious and asks if it hurt. The knight says that it would be better if a wasp stung him. He says that it is the weapon of the lady, that is, the lady is very strong. The girl looks at her hands with admiration and says that these are golden fists. Suddenly she notices something is wrong. Turning around, she sees a dark aura near her. The girl is scared by this and asks you if it is a black haze. Whatever it is unpleasant. The main character begins to trample this aura. It begins to say that the girl is a great magician, asking if she thinks this is the end. Yvonne gets goosebumps from this because this nasty thing also talks. The knight does not understand what is happening and asks if his mistress is very angry. The dark consistency disappears, and the main character asks her servant if he saw it. There was something black and unpleasant there. But the knight asks what she is talking about and whether she is trying to intimidate him on purpose. The white-haired lady is already beginning to think that she imagined it, but this cannot be. The prince walks around the greenhouse and notices that it is very quiet. He asks if this quietness cost a lot. Barden answers that it is all thanks to the extensive efforts of the imperial family and the other clans. Especially the Duke of Yells contributed greatly, who defended the northern gate alone, but the white-haired boy was not even able to meet him. Adrian Verbent is the crown prince of the Verbnet Empire and a swordmaster. The prince says that he heard that young Yells is going to visit the capital for the first time. Barden asks if this is true. He understands that this news has already reached the prince himself. Adrian asks if the Duke of Yales's arrival in the capital is somehow connected with Yvonne Argentros. The white-haired guy says he doesn't know. The prince claims that the girl is currently studying history etiquette and even communication skills. He says that he understands the efforts of the main character because she is trying to take the princess's place, but the guy intends to make Princess Cordelia his wife, and so Lady Yvonne is trying in vain. Barden is already losing his temper. He tells His Highness that he seems to be worrying in vain because his sister has long forgotten the prince and started a new life, and Adrian should not worry about it. But he only narcissistically tells the guy not to pretend because the lady will not be able to forget the guy so easily. The white-haired gentleman himself knows very well. Adrian continues his monologue and suggests that Barden try to renounce him for the sake of his sister. The white-haired guy thinks that if it were not for the title of prince, then the one standing in front of him would have already been beaten. Yvonne's brother is still angry, but suddenly he sees a strange handprint on the tree. He wonders where it could have come from. The lady decides that she should write it down just in case and points the bracelet with the magic stone at the trace. The prince asks the white-haired guy if he is listening to him. Barden tells him that there is a strange trace behind him, but when His Highness turns around, the trace is no longer there. The prince says it's just a tree and assures Barden that he shouldn't avoid talking and should rather listen to his advice for Yvonne. The white-haired boy is fed up with this. He turns to His Highness and asks him to forgive him, but Yvonne has really forgotten about the prince, so there is no need to pay so much attention to this. He and his father do not want Yvonne to take the princess's place. The prince is shocked by such words and does not know what to answer. Barden bows to the prince and leaves. During the war, he thought the guy was not bad. The white-haired guy asks himself what Yvonne saw in Adrian and claims that she does not understand men at all. The girl's brother will try to make sure that she does not make such mistakes again. At this time, the man coughing up blood thinks that the girl killed his evil spirit with one blow of her foot. He assures that she will pay for this and leaves a dark mark on the tree. The maid runs around the room with lace and thanks her mistress. Yvonne says that Carol has already said the 30th thank you she has understood completely, and there is no need to thank her anymore. The main character thinks about how her maid is happy with a few strips of lace. The maid asks her mistress why she sat down to read books as soon as she returned. Yvonne says she's just looking for something. She needs information about the monsters associated with the shadow, but she can't see it. The girl wonders what it was. She realizes that Yvonne had many ill-wishers. Is someone trying to kill her? She thinks that the genre has suddenly changed to a thriller. The main character can't find anything in the books and wonders if there is any other information. She asks her maid if she remembers that the girl told her not to touch anything under any circumstances. Carol screams that she didn't touch anything. The white-haired girl understands that the maid knows something and asks what it was. The maid screams that it is the right box standing in the artifact laboratory, which is a room for making bombs. But the girl repeats once again that she honestly did not touch anything and assures that this is true. Yvonne says she knows and just asked. She thinks of the bomb room and concludes that Yvonne was really into blowing up buildings. She asks her maid to report immediately if anyone wants to go in there. Carol obeys and says that if she finds out that someone has broken in, she will immediately throw a bomb which is in an earring. The main character looks at the earring a little puzzled. She did not think that it was a bomb. She thinks that Carol stayed to work as Yvonne's maid for a reason. At night, the white-haired lady decides to look into the laboratory. She enters the room with a lamp. The girl thought that the laboratory would be dark and boring, but everything is different there. She begins to look at everything and touch it. The main character finds the table that Carol was talking about. She reaches out to the box. Upon opening it, the girl sees that there is only a diary in it. She asks why it was so important that Yvonne gave Carol a bomb. The white-haired lady tries to open it in every possible way, but unfortunately, she can't do anything. The main character thought that with Yvonne's power she would succeed, but the diary won't open. Looking around, the girl notices a book on the shelf. She takes it in her hands and opens it to the bookmarked page. On it, the main character sees the line, "Magical memory loss and cure." The book falls out of her hands as the girl comes to the realization that the previous owner of the body had magical memory loss. Sitting at the table near the book, she says that she thought she could use magic because she is not the real Yvonne. It turns out that she was sick. It is good that there is a way to heal you, just need to grind 1 kilogram of the TL's crystal. And if you regularly drink tea, a complete cure is possible. The girl's gaze stumbles upon the price list of the precious stone. 1 gram costs 10 million gold, and 1 kilogram 100 million. She looks at these figures in shock because for that time it was an exorbitant price. The Duke tries on a new suit, and rumors say that the clothes were made especially for him because they fit perfectly. Another employee claims that it is a big part of their family to work for Yale's. Having finished the fitting, the Duke says to prepare everything according to these sizes. While he is changing into his clothes, the boy asks his servant if there has been any news from the north. Ant replies that fortunately there is no news of monsters, and asks if his master plans to return to the north after tomorrow's meeting. The Duke answers yes, because monsters have been appearing too often lately. The maid asks her mistress if she slept badly last night because her complexion is somehow pale. Yvonne replies that she did not, and says that she wants to buy something, so she needs to look at the list of her belongings. Carol claims that there have been no changes since the last sale of the mine. The main character realizes what her maid said and turns around sharply. She asks the maid many questions about why this mine was the last one, and if there is anything else. Carol says that her mistress spent everything on loans from a magic company. Yvonne realizes that the daughter of rich people has no money behind her. If you find out that in a dangerous situation she can't use magic, then what will she have to do? She tells the maid that she doesn't care what kind of decorations there are, and orders her to quickly pick up and prepare the magic ball. Carol compliments her mistress and says that she looks great with any jewelry. The main character wonders what's wrong with her, but thanks her maid anyway. Through the magic ball, the girl contacts the head of the branch of the gemstone company, and he claims that the price of TLs is 20 million per gram. The head of the branch says that the girl contacted them just in time. Now is a very good price. Last week it was 30 million. The main character asks if by any chance there is some cheap teals. Her interlocutor laughs at this and says that the girl knows how to joke. After all, money is money, and this crystal is usually sold by the gram, and if she needs a whole kilogram, then most likely she will have to buy up all the teals that the empire has. The white-haired lady asks in despair in her thoughts whether it is difficult to get it even with money. The maid calls her mistress, but she continues to think the girl thought that in this life it would be easier for her. Yvonne looks at the mug she is drinking from and thinks that it looks expensive. The girl wonders how much such a cup could cost. She also thinks that if she sells the clothes, she will get a lot of money. The man's voice pulls her out of her thoughts and asks what the lady is thinking so seriously about. The main character remembered that she was now meeting her fiancé and, officially, she asks for forgiveness. The girl already knew that the Duke was handsome, but she didn't think that he was so handsome. She wonders where her father got him. Yvonne would even like to be the first to ask him out for a second date, but now is not the time for that. It would be better for both of them if the white-haired lady finished and left here as soon as possible. She asks the Duke to listen to her and asks if he could lend her some money. An awkward silence hangs between them. Yvonne thought that after such words he would lose the gift of speech and quickly leave this place. The main character does not understand why the guy still hasn't left and continues to look at the girl like that. She thinks he would have been better off smirking or cursing. Rodnan asks how much the white-haired lady wants. The main character claims that it is an indefinite repayment and without interest, approximately 200 million gold, but the Duke only puts his hand in his jacket pocket. Yvonne does not believe that he is really willing to lend. She thought that he would start cursing and refuse her. When Yels takes a pen out of his pocket, the white-haired lady remembers that he is a master of the sword and is afraid that he is going to hurt her with this sharp object. But the Duke simply signs the paper. Yvonne, looking at the guy's eyelashes, you notice that they are long. Her gaze falls on Yels's luxurious hair, and she wonders in her mind what kind of shampoo he uses. The main character notices that the Duke's nose is so chiseled and sharp like that of a true sword master. Herzen. The white-haired lady thinks that the man sitting in front of her is charming. It seems that the word beauty was invented because of him, and he also has beautiful long fingers. Looking at them, the girl notices that Rodnane is writing something on a piece of paper with his beautiful hands. Looking closer, she sees that the guy is filling out an agreement for a loan. The main character thinks that he has completely gone crazy and is really going to lend her money. She is about to stop. The Duke grabs the guy by the hand but then realizes what she did and asks him to forgive her. She tells the Duke that he is very kind. The girl heard that he is a fair man and quite handsome, but still you can't just lend money. The main character herself knows about her situation and asks if Rodnane knows about it. Today is their first meeting and the guy is already ready to lend Yvonne such a large amount of money. She says that she cannot allow this. Well, the Duke claims that he will simply lend her the money because he knows for sure that the girl sitting opposite him is Lady Argentrose, and this money is also from his personal fortune, so there are no problems. He says that even if the white-haired lady deceives him, nothing can be done. The main character thinks that this man is too kind. She assures the Duke that it would be right to run away immediately because the lady is behaving very strangely on the date. Well, he approaches Yvonne and says that if he doesn't think the girl is strange, then there's no point in running. Then the main character thinks that she should run. She jumps up from her seat and says that it's time for her to go. Yells asks the girl to wait and says that he will take her to the Argentrose estate. The white-haired lady says that there's no point in doing that. The Duke asks if it's really impossible because he would like to get to know Yvonne better. The heroine's heart melts from such words and she thinks that she also wants to get to know the guy, but she refuses him because for the Duke's sake she must leave first. She says that they should say goodbye here. Then the guy asks if the white-haired lady could fulfill one of his requests. He suggests that they call each other by their first names the next time they meet and asks Yvonne's opinion on this. He tells the main character that he will call her Yvonne, and she can call him Rodnane. The Duke kisses the hand of the white-haired lady. The girl agrees to this request and smiles. After the meeting, the main character decides to rest near the fountain. She thought that her heart would jump out of her chest and that she was unworthy of such a man. But the girl was happy, even if not for long, because they would not see each other again. Yvonne sees the painfully familiar golden hair and understands that it is the prince. He says that the lady is persistent because even on the day of her date she wanders around looking for him. The main character thought that under no circumstances would she meet him here, the beloved son of the emperor's concubine. Hadrian's real mother died, so he was adopted by the current empress, thus becoming the heir, and always cared only about his reputation. That's why he disliked Yvonne. If any of his clothes or accessories were of a color that reminded him of Yvonne, he demonstratively avoided it in his appearance, and also ignored the white-haired lady's declarations of love several times. Now the prince is showing off and asking what he should do with the lady who is suffering so much because of him. The main character is not very happy to greet him. Adrian did not think that even on such a day the girl would come here. As befits the main character of the novel, he can certainly be called handsome, but after that ideal man, the prince seems somehow ordinary. Adrian tells the girl that she shouldn't look at him with such a sad look. But the white-haired lady doesn't understand what he's talking about and claims that she doesn't want to bother him, so she'll go. The prince says well at first, but then he realizes what Yvonne said and asks in surprise where she is going when he is right here. But the girl apologizes and gets up from her seat. She thinks that she needs to leave there quickly. But the prince cries out for her to wait and grabs the lady by the hand. The main character, shocked, asks if the prince grabbed her hand. Adrian lets go of her hand and says he didn't mean to. Yvonne says there are a lot of people there and if the prince holds her hand, it will reflect on his reputation. The white-haired lady claims that the prince has always been worried about this and thinks she should tell him straight. The girl says that he seems to have misunderstood because she has long forgotten about him. She assures that Adrian cannot worry because the girl will not bother them from now on. The main character apologizes for everything she did. But the prince says that the lady is just trying to reach his heart. As far as he knows, Yvonne began to study to become his wife. He says that there is no need to be shy because there is nothing shameful in studying. The white-haired lady doesn't understand what this narcissistic prince is saying. She notices that his hair is yellow and he speaks disgustingly as if his head was smeared with oil. The girl furiously tells His Highness that everything is wrong. She wonders why this psycho can't understand and says that she no longer has any feelings for Adrian. But he still doesn't understand and says that the girl is just trying to get his attention. Even Duke yells was used for this. The prince asks if Yvonne feels sorry for him. The main character clenches her fists and almost cries because of this idiot. His Highness asks the lady if she is crying because of him. Rodnane approaches the pair from behind and says that he has finally found Yvonne. He greets the prince and says that his name is Rodnane Yells. Adrian, astonished, asks if this is the Duke of Yales. Two guys are standing opposite each other. People start whispering. One lady from the crowd asks if Miss Argentrose is between the prince and the Duke. Is this really a love triangle? Another lady asks what kind of weird thing the girl is saying. 5. It is immediately obvious that Duke Yales rushed to protect the prince. Yvonne is speechless. She thinks that she should have taken her brother's artifact. Rodnane tells the main character that he has a gift for her that he did not have time to give, and claiming that this is not the most suitable place. The Duke suggests that they retire to some quiet place. Yvonne thinks that the guy realized that she was in a bad situation and decided to help her. The white-haired lady embraces the Duke's arm and says that they are going away to spend time together. She invites the Duke to come with her. Rodnane holds the girl's hand, motioning for her not to let go, and states that as the lady said they have a date, so he will see His Highness next time. The couple leaves, leaving the prince alone. On the way, the main character says that she will definitely thank the Duke for this, and to be honest, she knows that the guy came on a date at the request of her father. She guesses that it must have been hard for Rodnane to do this, and now he's saved her from the prince. The white-haired ladies thank him. He thinks about it, and Yvonne asks if maybe it was unpleasant for him because she didn't even think about it. The Duke approaches Yvonne. The girl notices that he is too close. The guy reaches out to her hair, and the main character closes her eyes, thinking that he wants to kiss her. But Rodnane simply took the leaf from her hair and reminded her that they had agreed that the lady would call him by his first name. But the main character thinks that if the Duke behaves like this, she might misunderstand everything. Rodnane has already thrown a mountain of sugar into his cup. He thinks like the Villainess may be such clear eyes, maybe that is her charm. The servant asks his master if he can hear him. The Duke asks Aunt if he said before he went on a date that he has a beautiful appearance. The blue-haired ward adjusts his monocle, and with a smile on his face replies that the Duke is still as handsome as he is now and will always be so. Rodnane asks how anyone can believe this. Perhaps his standards of beauty are different from the standard. Aunt asks what his master is talking about and asks if the Duke will believe him if he conducts a survey and gives him a report. The guy thought that Miss Argentrose looked at him as if he were a stone. The servant claims that this is unheard of. I say that she has problems with her eyes. The Duke gets angry at such words. Rodnane thinks he hears a strange ringing sound. He remembers Yvonne and says it's like a lady calling his name. The guy is completely confused. Aunt says that his master seems very tired and asks if he gave the gift he prepared. The Duke remembers that only after the lady left, he realized that he did not give the gift, so he followed her and saw her crying. The guy thinks that it is all because of the prince. It was not easy for the girl to come to the date, and then there was the prince whom she had loved for a long time. Surely it was hard for the lady to see him so hard that she took the guy by the arm to leave as quickly as possible. The Duke remembers how the girl thanked him. He suggests that the girl might like blondes. Aunt reports that everything is ready for tomorrow's trip and asks when his master plans to leave, but he says that he will remain in the capital for now and orders his servant to find out if Lady Argentrose has any large debts. The ward asks the Duke again. Rodnane asks if Antu needs any explanations. He claims that he doesn't need any, and he will try to find out. The guy sipping his coffee thinks about the strangeness of the girl asking for exactly 200 million. Their family is considered one of the richest in the empire. Why would she need such a sum? It's not like the Duke, but he won't satisfy his curiosity yet. The guy doesn't finish his sentence and looks at the sunset. He thinks that it looks very much like Lady Argentrose's eyes, reminiscent of a precious stone, and he should have prepared a more valuable gift for her. Yvonne received a gift, opens it, and sees a bracelet with a Thiel stone inside. She sees that there are at least 10 grams. If you translate it into money, it will cost a lot, and this is a gift for a first date. The girl notices that Rodnane Yields looks like an ideal man. He gave her what she needed most. The girl thinks that even if she doesn't get him, she wishes him happiness. The main character's brother and father burst into her room and ask me if it's true that the girl met a prince on a date. The white-haired lady replies that she met him by chance, adding in her thoughts that to be more precise, it was on the square. She tells her family that they both worked too much and their complexions are just awful. Their faces show the fatigue of an average Korean company employee. They think that Yvonne had a hard time. She is also worried about them. The main character already regrets what she said and thinks that the guys will start whining again. Kaiser says that he sent his daughter on this date in vain because of him she ran into the prince. The father apologizes for this. The white-haired lady says that everything is fine. On the contrary, she feels awkward in front of Duke Yells because he had to go on a date with someone like her. The father asks his daughter not to say such words, they hurt his soul. The brother asks what it means with someone like her because his sister is very smart and beautiful. The father says that he is proud of his daughter because of her character. There were rumors, of course, but the girl realized everything, so she should not say such things. Yvonne smiles and says that she won't do it anymore, so she decided to forget about everything that happened and start her own business. She thinks that she needs a huge capital now. She tells her brother and father that she needs money and folds her hands in the shape of a coin. The guys say how impudent she is, that is decisive. The main character asks the Kaiser to lend her 10 million gold. She will give them back with interest. Barden says that it is the price of several outfits and he can give them to his sister for free, but the girl claims that she does not want to and will write an official promissory note. She will take a debt from her father which she will definitely pay back. The girl claims that she wants to gain trust. The brother does not recognize his sister. Her father agrees, although he could also just give her the money. After all, they are not only a clan of magicians but also the owners of the house company, so this is a good chance to learn how to run a business. Yvonne thanks her father and says that she will not disappoint him. The Kaiser, standing in the evening with a paper in his hand, says that his daughter has changed a lot. Her determined look makes her even more like her mother. The father says that he is angry with the prince, but this situation turned out to be lucky for them. Brother asks if Yvonne said anything about a date. The white-haired man answering that she said nothing, he hoped to arrange another meeting for them, interdependent on her reaction. Barden assures that although his sister has forgotten the prince, but human feelings do not pass so easily, and suddenly the girl only pretends that she is no longer interested in him. The father says that this Prince Adrian, although he is the heir to the throne, does not yet have a strong power. He became the heir because he was adopted by the Empress, and this can change at any moment. The boy asks what his father means and whether he wants to influence the choice of the heir. The Kaiser claims that if Adrian ceases to be the crown prince, he will no longer be able to look down on their family. Barden asks if he is ready to do this for Yvonne since the Argentroses never interfered in the affairs of the imperial family. The man says that it is not only for his daughter, the illegitimate daughter of the King Mere, whom the prince brought back from the war, does not inspire confidence in him. The guy says he has the same thoughts. Her healing skills with which she saved the prince on the battlefield are beyond the ordinary level. He even thought about conducting an investigation. The father entrusts this matter to his son and tells him to contact the third prince. Someone sent 2 letters to the main character. The girl asked who they were from. The maid answered that one was from the Duke of Yales and the second was from the Crown Prince. The white-haired lady is in despair because she thinks that the first one is with a complaint and the second one is with a summons. She thinks that the Duke might be unhappy with the meeting with her. The prince probably sent an arrest warrant for that incident with the bomb. The maid tries to calm her mistress and assures her that although she acted a little on emotions, she now leads a calm lifestyle as if she had gone to a monastery. Yvonne asks where it is possible that the monastery was so good and asks her maid to give her letters. First, she opens the letter from the Duke and thinks what to do if this is really a letter of complaint or a demand to return the bracelet from Teals. The girl remembers that he was so caring and gentle that day. She reads the text of the letter Rodnane wrote to the girl that he really liked yesterday's date. The guys are worried whether the main character liked the gift. If she has time, Tony is pestering her to go to the opera with him tomorrow. He will wait for her answer. The white-haired lady looks at the paper and realizes that it is an invitation for a second date. The maid says that the Duke likes her mistress, but Yvonne says that she must send a refusal. Her maid does not understand why. The main character says that Rodnane most likely sent the letter out of politeness since he came to the date at the request of his father. The girl is sorry to refuse such a man, but nothing can be done. She did not even want to open the letter from the prince, but in short, it spoke of an invitation to a tea party that Cordelia was organizing, and one and the same threat for Yvonne to promise not to use magic. The white-haired lady clutches the letter and asks in her mind, how dare the prince treat her like a criminal? She said she forgot him, and now he suddenly feels sorry. The girl calls His Highness a lousy bastard. She says that she needs to write a reply and asks her maid to bring paper for the letter. The prince is sitting at a tea party. The guests are talking about how it is no wonder that this place is called the Green Palace. The summer flowers look so bright and fresh. His Highness thinks that the girl really did not come, and earlier she tried to get an invitation by any means if she knew that he would be there. Adrian wonders why the girl did that. Didn't she say those words to arouse the guy's interest? He thinks that it can't be. Cordelia grabs the prince's hand and asks if he thinks it was too dangerous on the battlefield back then. His Highness says that the girl saved his life, all thanks to her restoration magic. The guests begin to praise the lady and say that she has unique abilities. One of the ladies heard that thanks to them, Cordelia played a big role in the war, which was to be expected from Princess Mare. The girl thanks the lady and says that it is all thanks to the skill that was passed on to her by her ancestors. After that, the guests start gossiping about the date of the Duke of Yale's and Lady Argentrose. They say that the Duke is still in the capital. They say that the lady behaved very modestly with him. The girls are very curious about how they ended up on a date. They heard that he is very handsome and would also like to meet the Duke. Cordelia clearly doesn't like this and decides to tell Marchioness Shelia and Lady Alanta that they both have such beautiful skin. The girls are distracted from the conversation. One of them says that she has been taking extra care of her skin lately. The princess asks them to share their beauty secrets. They say that she has beautiful skin too. At the same time, Yvonne was heading to the capital in a carriage. She was looking at the contract for the supply of the rhodia herb. It was truly a brilliant product. It was inexpensive, so with her father's money, the girl was able to buy the rights to it. Rhodiola rosea is commonly used as a fever reducer, but is not a good remedy due to the availability of more effective drugs, but that is if you use it as a fever remedy. According to the plot, when Adrian and Cordelia returned to the capital, an unknown skin disease appeared among the aristocrats. Cordelia, who was an illegitimate child, was not accepted in high circles, but she found a way to treat this disease, thereby changing the attitude towards herself. The remedy turned out to be the herb rhodia. Cordelia gave this herb to everyone for free, but the main character has no such desire because she is the villain Yvonne. Since the girl got into the plot of the novel, it is necessary to use all the information that she has. She mentally apologizes to the princess, but she uses the herb rhodia to earn 200 million. The servant informs his mistress that they have arrived in Naziel. The white-haired lady thinks that the herb can be sold immediately, but if she wants to sell it at a high price, it is important to think about the packaging. The product she is planning should look high quality and at the same time treat skin disease. It will be natural handmade cosmetics. The main character needs to find a place for a store today and quickly launch production before the disease spreads. She looks at the imperial palace and tells the prince to drink tea with his bride, and she is busy with her own affairs. Dust gets into Yvonne's eyes because a strong wind has blown. Duke Yales approaches the girl. The main character asks what brought him here. Everyone around starts gossiping about the situation. They seeing the Duke say that he is much more handsome than they say about him. The white-haired lady looks at Rodnane and agrees because the Duke is truly incomparable. It seems as if he is all aglow. His appearance is charming even when he is just standing, and even his cold gaze is attractive. It is a deadly beauty. Rodnane addresses the protagonist, but she turns around only when he calls her name. She apologizes and asks the Duke what he said. The guy says that even though the girl rejected him, he is very glad that they met by chance. The guy asks if the ladies' meeting is over yet. Yvonne says that it is over, but she had personal matters. The main character is tormented by her conscience that she is lying looking into those beautiful eyes because she did not have any meeting. Rodnane says that it is good, and he was just about to go for a walk. He asks if the girl will allow him to accompany her. She points at herself and asks if the guy wants to accompany her. She doesn't understand what's going on because he asked for a second date out of respect for his father, but what's going on now? The ladies continue to gossip and ask what the Duke is talking about with Lady Argentrose and why they are together. They are already discussing the possibility that the girl might threaten him. Yvonne thinks that nothing good will come of Rodnane getting involved with this villainess. In the novel, Duke Yales barely appeared, only mentioned as the ruler of the northern lands. And this Duke suddenly goes on a date with Yvonne, who has fallen ill with a strange, rare disease. After reincarnating into her body, many events did not go according to the plot. The girl should be more careful with those about whom little is known, because the novel has too many contradictions. For example, a loved one turned out to be a traitor. This may be simple courtesy, but there is nothing wrong with caution. The white-haired lady says that in that case, the guy would be better off going for a walk with someone who knows the capital well. Rodnane, judging by his expression, does not look very happy. He comes closer to the lady and says that this is an excuse to spend time with her. The Duke asks if Yvonne could just let him. The main character is very touched. The knight behind her tells his mistress how cruel she is. The girl finally goes for a walk with Rodnane. She let go of the accompanying knight and went with the Duke. It just happened that way. The guy told the servant to rest somewhere for now. The same one heard these words and immediately ran away. Now the girl thinks that it is dangerous for her to walk alone, but suddenly she will get into even greater danger. The Duke asks why the girl is accompanied by a knight and whether this is a trick. The main character says that the streets are simply dangerous, but at the same moment she remembers that Yvonne was a mage who does not need a knight. At first, she did not understand why the guy was asking her such obvious things, but for Yvonne, it is far from obvious. She says that of course she could do without a knight, but caution never hurts. Rodnane looks ahead coldly and agrees with the white-haired lady. He claims that there are too many scum in the world. The main character only hopes that she is not the scum. The girl sincerely wishes that it is so and decides to change the topic of conversation. She asks the Duke if he minds because she is going shopping. The guy says there is nothing wrong with that and concludes that Yvonne loves shopping. He claims that he will take that into account. The main character does not understand why she feels like she is being interrogated. She remembers all of Yvonne's atrocities and says that she needs to learn to spend less. She is tired of all this luxury. The girl understands that for some reason she began to justify herself. The Duke asks what it means that she doesn't like the dresses, bags, shoes, and jewelry. He should have found out in advance before giving the gift. The white-haired lady understands that the bracelet with the stone that she needs so much now is clearly a luxury item. As soon as she remembers this, a smile immediately appears on her face. The girl claims that she really liked Rodnane's gift and thanks him. She thinks about the properties of this precious crystal because it can cure Yvonne's illness. The girl claims that this is true. The Duke says what a relief and thinks for a while. The white-haired lady asks herself why the guy has such a face and thinks that she did something wrong again. But after a short silence, Rodnane began asking the girl questions as if nothing had happened, as if he was trying to find out everything about her at once. But it didn't end there because he also charmed her with his words. He approaches Yvonne and says that she looks even more beautiful today. The girl thinks that she needs to calm down and stop worrying so much, otherwise it will be worse for her. It is just said out of politeness. She should just agree and move on to the next topic. Yvonne says that the Duke looks good too. On the way they meet two ladies. They greet Rodnane. The older lady says that she is the wife of the Viscount Frantia and points to a young girl, informing her that this is her daughter. The Duke, with a gentle smile, says that he is glad to see them, but he is busy now and must go. The girl bids him farewell. The older lady apologizes for keeping her. Yvonne noticed that he had just been so cold, which seemed strange to her because she thought he was polite to everyone. The Duke asked if he had asked the white-haired lady too many questions because he had said he would not disturb. He apologizes and says that he is just interested in getting to know the lady better. The main character thinks that this man is really perfect, but she tries to distance herself from such thoughts. His attempts to get closer to the girl, personal questions, and caring attitude. Having put the whole picture together, the girl comes to the conclusion that he has an interest in her. As soon as she saw the coat of arms of the Yells family, she remembered that the Duke had another reason for treating her like that. She studied the history of the imperial family of Verbna in class. The main character remembers the secret investigative organization of the imperial family. Since an official investigation was impossible, they acted secretly. They were said to be closely connected to one of the 4 largest clans in the empire. No one had seen them in person, but if the Yells family was responsible for the secret investigation of the imperial family, then everything fell into place. The Duke's father had asked for a meeting, and the white-haired lady could not say what caused his behavior after the meeting. She continues on her way and thinks that if she remembers then, in the novel, Yvonne became increasingly cruel, so the prince secretly followed her. That is, Rodnan could be a spy sent by the prince to keep an eye on her. The victim grabs the girl and moves her a little to the side. He tells Yvonne that she needs to look ahead. When she walks down the street, she almost crashed into a tree, so the girl should be more careful. The main character is a little embarrassed and thinks that the guy is being so kind to her on purpose to lull her vigilance. She thanks Rodnan and promises to be more careful. The girl thinks that this is even better. At the same time, she will demonstrate to the Duke that she does not pose a danger to Adrian. She thinks that she will relieve Mr. Rodnan of his duties. A white-haired lady enters a cosmetics store and starts testing the products. Herseg asks if she chooses the cosmetics for herself. The girl claims that she does. But the guy says that she looks great without makeup and asks why she needs all this. Yvonne is embarrassed and says that everything is not that good. She thinks that Rodnan is trying to point out that the white-haired lady is wasting her money. The main character sees that this store mainly sells brightly colored cosmetics, and she should go to another one. She tells the Duke about it. The couple enters another shop and sees a lady dressed elegantly there. She greets the main character and the guy. The white-haired lady notices that the saleswoman immediately recognized them. The owner is quite knowledgeable about the upper class. Yvonne inhales and smells a wonderful aroma. It is the aroma of herbs. She tells the owner of the store that it seems that she uses herbs in her cosmetics. The saleswoman assures that everything is correct and thanks the lady for noticing it. The girl asks if the lady can tell about the product she picked up. The hostess takes the cream in her hands and tells about its properties. The main character understands that functional cosmetics have amazing properties thanks to herbs. She applies the product to her hand, and you notice that the hostess is proud of her products, and they also have a pleasant smell and texture. The white-haired lady thinks that she can make the necessary and cosmetics here with the help of the herb rhodia. She turns around and meets the Duke's gaze. He bows his head with a smile. The girl remembers that the Duke gave her a bracelet, and she gave him nothing. He, of course, may be a spy, but this is the prince's assignment, not the one who carries it out, and the boss is to blame, not the subordinates. The white-haired lady calls Rodnan to her, then comes closer and asks what is going on. The main character understands that she shouldn't think like that, but the Duke seems to her like an obedient dog. She puts some cream on her finger and asks the guy to give her his hand. At first he doesn't understand, but then he agrees. The girl puts cream on the Duke's hand and thinks that the guy's hands are very beautiful hands. Looking at his veins, she thinks that he seems very powerful. Perhaps such thoughts are unworthy of her, but let the one who looks at this hand and does not think the same thing throw a stone at her. Yvonne asks Rodnan how he is. Well, the guy doesn't answer. The main character starts to think that she behaved too rudely. The Duke might not like her touching him. The white-haired lady starts to worry and says that she just wanted to thank the guy for that gift, but offering hand cream to a person who often holds a sword is too much. She claims that she herself understands that it was rude. The girl runs away and asks to forgive her. Rodnan tries to stop her and says that on the contrary, you need to take care of the skin of your hands. The guests at the royal palace are gossiping again about the Duke and Yvonne, and they have already heard rumors that they went on a date today. The prince approaches from the crowd with Cordelia. He claims that the event is already over, but the guests are not leaving. He says that he became curious about what they are talking about. One lady claims that nothing special happened. They were just discussing the Duke of Yales and Miss Argentrose. They are said to be on a date in Naziel. The prince thinks and repeats the girl's words about the lady being on a date. Cordelia seems worried by the prince's behavior. The guests bid farewell to His Majesty. And he leaves smirking. He thinks Yvonne is trying to make him jealous, and it's quite cute. Adrian finds it surprising that he finds the villain attractive. She really tried this time. The princess looks very angry about this, but their prince rejected the villainess because he does not like her, but his facial expression and actions show clear jealousy. Such feelings cannot be shown by those who have no interest at all. Cordelia squeezes the flower in her hand and says that she needs to get his attention back. She sees a boy walking down the road and realizes that it is Barden Argentrose. During the war, the princess managed to gain the favor of those around her with the help of healing magic. The only one who did not succumb to her charm is Duke Barden. Cordelia might be able to use it to win the prince back. She doesn't dislike the guy, but she has no other choice. At this time, the couple leaves the store. The main character says that this scent suits the Duke very well. He asks again if the scent of roses suits him. The white-haired lady says that it suits him very well and adds in her thoughts that everything suits handsome men. Rodnane wants to ask Yvonne something, but her brother interrupts the Duke and stands between them. The main character asks where Barden is from. Well, he says that rumors about their date have reached not only the academy, but also the imperial palace. The white-haired lady says that everything is not so at all, and it is not a date. Yvonne's brother greets the Duke and introduces himself. Rodnane says he is very pleased and claims that Barden looks very much like his sister like the Duke, and he has heard he is a real handsome man. The guy thanks Duke Yales. The main character notices that Rodnane has charmed even her brother. It seems he is kind to everyone regardless of gender. The heart says that he certainly wanted to get acquainted, and if Barden does not mind, he would like to invite him and Lady Yvonne to dinner. The brother grabs his sister's hand, apologizes, and says that it's impossible. He just wanted to tell him something. Barden says that Yvonne has been trying to start a new life lately, so the Duke shouldn't give her empty hopes just out of curiosity. He asks his sister if that's true. The main character thinks that this is right, but the Duke is following her on the prince's orders and not trying to charm her. Rodnane has such a puzzled look on his face. Barden is talking nonsense, but for some reason the main character is ashamed. The brother is taking his sister away. The white-haired lady turns around as she leaves and thanks Mr. Rodnane for today. When the Duke returns home, Aunt says he has completed the investigation into Lady Yvonne's finances that his master requested. Rodnane, with a grim face, tells his servant to report. The ward claims that she has no debts and has not lent money to anyone. Everything is crystal clear. He asks what happened to the master, who looks so puzzled. The Duke asks Aunt how he can confess his feelings to a girl who doesn't need money, expensive gifts, or dates. The servant asks if the girl said so herself and says that if she doesn't need anything, it means she's been rejected. In other words, the Duke has been rejected. He is surprised that people like the Duke are rejected, but his master claims that the girl gave him a gift. Aunt says that she put a wall between them and gave reason to hope for more. The guy claims that the girl deserved the title of villain. The Duke is very angry at such words and orders his servants not to dare to talk about her like that. The ward apologizes and says he is worried about his master. Rodnane asks what is bothering the boy so much. He says that if you think about it, his master is just one of the fish in the ladies' aquarium. The Duke asks what that means. Aunt explains that this is a fashionable expression in the capital. It means that a person continues to date an admirer, although they have the intention of developing this relationship, as if keeping fish in an aquarium. Rodnane remembers the main character and says that if this is Yvonne's aquarium, then it is quite good. But the Duke thinks that he is in such an aquarium does not make sense, because of this terrible prince, the white-haired girl does not allow anyone to be near her. He thinks that first he needs to draw her attention to himself. Therefore, first of all, he needs to deal with the prince. He tells Antu to send a letter to the third prince that he will visit him soon. Yvonne, she is at home now. She finally explained to her brother that it was not a date. He says that he hopes that the girl is not interested in Duke Yells, but the girl assures that no, because they just met by chance on the street. Barden says that this is good because the Duke speaks in such a soft voice that she herself will not notice how she succumbs to his charm. The girl asks her brother if the Duke had charmed him, and she tells him if he could have seen his face when they met. Barden asks what she is talking about and what kind of face he had. But the white-haired lady says that she doesn't even know because her brother should know better. In the evening, the guy takes a bath. He is really worried about his sister, and she is just joking. Barden starts using magic and twirls water around his fingers. He thinks that his sister suffered so much because of the prince and he can't let that happen. He remembers how Adrian said that the lady won't be able to forget him so easily. The brother thinks that if His Highness had not been a prince, he would have finished him off in the garden. Barden remembers that on that day in the garden, he recorded a strange imprint. He almost forgot about it. The guy gets out of the bath and puts on a robe. He takes the bracelet in his hands and goes to the mirror. The brother looks at the bracelet with the purple stone. But when he looks in the mirror, he notices something behind him. It's a huge centipede. Barden turns around in shock and asks what it is. It attacks the guy and knocks him to the ground. The bracelet jumps out of the hands of the white-haired guy and beats towards the door. Barden does not understand how this nasty thing got in there. He uses protection magic. This black haze looks like dark magic, the brother thinks. Who could have sent this monster? The guards should have run there a long time ago, but they are not there, which means the connection with the outside world is broken with the help of magic. The guy's barrier begins to crumble. Yvonne is sitting in her room. She asks Carol if she heard anything, but the maid does not understand what her mistress is talking about, and the white-haired girl thinks that she imagined it. But suddenly she hears another crash and runs out into the corridor. The maid asks where her mistress went and goes after her. The girls go to Barden's room. The maid says that this is the young master's room, but she doesn't hear anything at all. Yvonne opens the door and tells the maid that her brother is in danger. She asks the maid to call people. The girl understands that she clearly heard some kind of roar and the words of a spell. She ordered to call people, but suddenly nothing special happened. She will be embarrassed. The girl looks through the open door and sees her brother fighting the monster. She is shocked and asks what is going on. Barden notices that his sister has come and asks her to strike with magic, but the girl cannot use magic now. The guy notices that poison is pouring out of the monster's mouth and warns his sister about it. The girl gets very scared and a protective barrier appears around her. The brother asks his sister if she just woke up and tells her to quickly use magic. Scolopendra breaks through her brother's barrier. He creates a magic circle to jump away. Yvonne understands that the magic was broken because of her. She would like to do something, but her body does not obey her. The girl asks when Carol will return and whether Barden will be able to hold out until help arrives. Since the girl cannot help, it is better for her to move away. Her brother begins to use attack magic, but the monster does not take anything. He thinks that his sister panicked. Surely she saw such a monster for the first time and naturally was confused in such a situation. He himself almost lost consciousness when he first saw such a monster, but without the help of his sister, Bardenu will not cope with it. He tells Yvonne to pull herself together, but suddenly the poison paralyzes him. The guy is very angry at his helplessness, but his sister may be in danger. Suddenly, the main character screams at the monster not to move. She calls him a lousy bug and throws the bracelet. With this blow, she seriously wounds the monster. Somehow rumors come running. They ask if the master and mistress are okay. Barden forgot that the most useless thing in the world is worrying about his sister. Cordelia starts bleeding. She claims that it just can't be. The contract with the monster is broken, and in return, her life is shortened. She thinks about how the white-haired lady killed her monster with some insignificant bracelet. At first, the girl was able to do this to the monster that followed her shadow, but the centipede named Callan that the princess sent to Barden was a monster of the highest level. He was not one that could be defeated by ordinary physical strength. Cordelia realizes that the main character appeared at the right moment, and yet she could not hear anything from the outside because of the dark magic. The princess comes to the conclusion that the girl already knew what was going on. But this is impossible because Cordelia did not plan to attack Barden. She was only going to follow him until she found out that he had recorded her footprint on that tree. The princess looks at the magic ball and wonders if it really was just a coincidence. However, the girl understands that something doesn't add up there, so she needs to check whether the young man's sister could find out something. At this time, the father of the main character looks at the locked monster. He claims that this is the monster of a dark magician, and there is no doubt about it. The man asks if it's true that this centipede appeared in the house, and Barden replies that yes, and last night the monster suddenly appeared in his bathroom. And judging by the direction, he either climbed through the window or was already waiting for him inside. The young lady remembers that the window was tightly closed. Then the young man makes a suggestion. What if the monster had already followed him when he went to war to write a report? The father says that it is quite possible, but he does not think so. Then the brother of the main character asks why. And the man replies that only a strong, dark magician can make a contract with such a monster, putting his life expectancy as collateral. And after the conclusion of this contract, a connection with the monster appears, because of which the Max cannot travel far. And the young man asks if this means that there is a dark magician in the capital now. His father replies that this is exactly the case, and that he is so daring that he dared to send his monster to the duchy. Dark magicians are those who have made a contract with hellish demons. They summon monsters in order to cause war. The strongest of them can make contracts with monsters and control them, making them even more dangerous. The Empire strictly punishes those involved with dark magic and also controls all information related to it. The young lady wonders how a dark magician can walk freely in the capital of such a state, and whether it could be that what stuck to her shadow that time was also his doing. Therefore, the girl thinks whether it is worth asking the Duke about this, because he is the owner of the magic tower, and her brother at this time says that the situation is more serious than he thought, and asks what this dark magician is trying to achieve. The father claims that they have little information now, so it is difficult to say, after which he asks if they have anyone in mind. The young man claims that he doesn't even know because, apart from participating in the war, he wasn't involved in anything special. Then the father says that they don't know his purpose and that they should first strengthen security. The young lady looks at the man and thinks that the reason why Barden could have become the target of the dark magician. Most likely it is that in the novel, Yvonne became a dark archmage, but the girl understands that in order to avoid this fate, she did everything to stop being a villain, and she has no desire to stop being a dark magician, so Yvonne does not understand how she became a dark magician at all. But suddenly the girl realizes that this might not have been her personal desire, and it is quite possible that something terrible could happen in the near future. And also in the end, the fate of a dark magician may await her. The young lady thinking about this does not know what to do, but her father turns to her and asks how the girl finished off this monster because it has thick scales, which even powerful magic or ball technique does not work on. Barden puts his hand in his pocket and doesn't even know how to explain all this. He takes out a bent bracelet from there and shows it. And when he says that Yvonne struck the monster with this decoration, the father is shocked. He asks if Yvonne really did it, and the young lady replies that, to be more precise, she threw the jewelry. After all, there was nothing suitable around. Then the man asks why the daughter did not use magic. The young lady smiles in response to this and does not know what to answer. She thinks whether to tell her father that she cannot use magic. The girl runs through several scenarios in her head. The first one shows hope because her father can buy the young lady tealess. But the second option doesn't seem so good because her father might yell at her and say that the girl has done something wrong again. The main character understands that she has not yet gained enough of their trust, so she cannot decide. After which, she begins to speak. But her brother interrupts her and says that it's all because of him, because that monster grabbed him. And in that situation, Yvonne couldn't use magic, otherwise it would have affected him too. The young lady realizes that she had a chance to do this before the monster grabbed him, and the young man adds that his sister's decision was the best. The main character wonders if her brother has realized that she can't use magic and is trying to cover for her. Her father asks if they were hurt. And the young man just looks at his sister and smiles. He says that everyone is safe. Yvonne says that she is also safe thanks to her brother. She thinks that this is even touching because lately the guy tried to please her, which was awkward, and perhaps he would like to be on good terms with the real Yvonne. The father says that the young lady defeated the monster with physical strength alone, and in this, she is similar to her mother Camilla. The boys ask if she really looks like her mother, and her father replies that she does. After all, Camilla was an excellent knight and also very strong. At a hunting tournament, she caught a brown bear with her bare hands, after which her father fell in love with her. The man sadly says that such a strong woman still left for another world. But then, after a minute of silence, he claims that they have gone off topic, and in any case he will try to find out what the matter is, after which he asks if the guys want to tell him anything else. Barden says there's something else important to say, and he'll get right to the point. Then the guys claim that Duke Yales is hanging around Yvonne and doesn't leave her alone, and that the guy is courting his sister. that rumors of their meeting reached the imperial palace and the academy. Duke Yales is kind to everyone, so Barton is worried about him misleading Yvonne and hurting her feelings. The young lady, however, claims that this is not the case at all and that everyone around her has misunderstood everything. But the father cries out that if the Duke flirts with Yvonne again, then let his son tell him immediately and the father himself will talk to him. The main character is just wondering why no one is listening to her, but then the maid approaches them from behind the door and says that the mistress has a guest. The brother and father are a little wary of this because this has never happened before, so it seems very surprising to them. And the main character asks who arrived there. At this time, Cordelia is standing on the street with a box in her hands and waiting to be let in. A little while later, the young lady is already sitting with a cup of tea. She understands that the girl in front of her is very sweet, like the spring sun. And just looking at her makes you feel so calm, because it seems as if the princess can calm even a monster. Yvonne wonders if she is the main character, Cordelia. Looking at the silver hair, she realizes that she did not want to meet her. But since it happened that way, she has a feeling that the girl is some kind of star. The young lady does not understand whether there was such a scene in the plot and why the princess came to her. The brunette just puts down her mug and thanks the girl for agreeing to see her despite the sudden visit. Then she says that, to be honest, she thought the young lady would refuse to meet. Cordelia says that she knows that the young lady doesn't like her. The silver-haired lady thinks that the main character knows this and came anyway. Therefore, he thinks about what is so important that she wants to say, although the girl does not feel hostility towards her, and he thinks that he needs to be kind to the princess so that she stops being so wary. The silver-haired lady says that it is true and that it happened, but now she has no reason to dislike the princess. The brunette with tears in her eyes asked if this meant that the girl believed that she could win the prince's heart. The silver-haired lady is shocked by this, and the brunette at this time thinks that today the purpose of her visit consists of 3 points. The first is to check what Miss Argentrose knows about her, the second is to get rid of Barton's bracelet, and the third is to make sure that the young lady can no longer interfere with her plans. Yvonne at this time says that she does not know why the girl thinks so, but the main character interrupts her and says that Yvonne was recently on a date with Duke Yales. The brunette thinks that in order for the girl not to suspect her, some reliable cover is needed. That's why she claims that when she heard about it, she thought that Yvonne was trying to forget the prince and finally acknowledge their relationship. The silver-haired lady says that the girl is absolutely right, and she no longer feels any emotions for both of them. But the brunette only asks why the young lady then deliberately catches the prince's eye. Yvonne asks what she is talking about, and the girl claims that the young lady was on a date in Naziel, which is located near the imperial palace, and even spread these rumors. The brunette says that as far as she knows, this method is constantly used in high society. Hey, the girl plays to the public by choosing a wealthy and influential partner to attract male attention. The young lady is shocked by this statement, and the main view continues and asks if the girl is using Duke Yelles to make the prince interested in her. Cordelia thinks that the excuse that the naive princess is burning with jealousy and comes to her rival is excellent. At this time, the father is almost burning with anger. He and his son are outside the door. The man screams for the boy to let him go and asks if he heard this nonsense, but Barton Lisa tells her father to calm down, because if he gets angry at this princess now, it will only hurt Yvonne. The father cries out, asking if his son should stand and watch this. He claims that as a father and Duke of Argentrose, he is not able to calmly watch this conversation and asks if the third prince has sent an answer yet. Barton says that he completely forgot to say that the prince wrote about feeling unwell and therefore refused to meet. At this time, the blonde, after burning the letters, says that it is a little surprising because letters came from the most famous and influential dukes in the empire. This young man is Felix Delk Verbent, the third prince. Suddenly, someone turns to the blonde and offers to look at something. The young man already thinks that it is a pity, but he will not be able to meet the dukes. He approaches an old lady who says that the grass has a beard and looks like a man. The blonde man approaches his mother and says that it looks like that. He understands that he must protect his mother and his peace of mind. 18 years ago, Empress Giselle lost 2 children. She adopted the son of the 4th prince's concubine Hadrian and proclaimed him crown prince. The aristocrats whispered among themselves, One of them claimed that the third prince Felix, the son of the concubine Evelyn, was an intelligent and capable man, but he did not understand why the empress decided to make a 4-year-old boy the heir. And the second man claimed that the fourth prince was also born from a woman Chili's mouth was quite ordinary. After that part of the aristocracy that supported the third prince began to express their dissatisfaction. They wondered whether it would not be better to persuade the emperor to change his decision. But after the meeting of the aristocrats with the emperor, the head of the empire called Felix. The boy greeted Her Highness. The empress claimed that he looked weak and asked if the boy was in pain. The young man claimed that no, and that he was completely fine, but the head of the empire said that it was okay if the boy sometimes behaved like a child and was a little capricious. After all, it was immediately obvious that something had happened, and he would tell the doctors, so let the young man go to them and take the medicine. But the boy did not take the medicine. The doctor claimed that this was a very valuable medicine, so the baby should not tell anyone about it or give it to anyone because he should take it himself. The boy, although young, understood what kind of potion it was, so he did not stop thinking about it for several days, but he had no other choice. The young man understood that if he was gone, his mother would be able to live in peace. But after drinking this liquid, he realized that there was water there, and then he heard his mother scream in his room. The boy immediately turned around and started running into the room, and when he entered there, he saw a terrible picture of his mother lying on the floor. The maid claimed that fortunately the lady was saved, but I had greatly affected her mental state, which would probably last her entire life. Now she holds flowers in her hands and claims that Felix loves them very much. The young man asks if his mother planted them for him. Earlier she answers that yes, she likes them too, and she likes her son too. The blonde thanks his mother. He understands that this life was given to him thanks to his mother's sacrifice, and to protect her he must never be seen again. He remembers how the woman told him to go to the doctors and get some medicine from them. A little while later, the heroine's father is in the magic tower. He understands that the third prince's answer about his health condition is a clear excuse, and it seems the guy is afraid to catch the empress's eye once again. The man wonders if Felix really thinks that he can protect himself and his world in this way. After all, if that's the case, it's too irresponsible, but suddenly the young lady's father bumps into someone. The stranger apologizes and says he blocked the Duke's path. The man claims it's nothing serious. And when he looks up, he sees a brunette. The young man asks if the man is the owner of the tower and claims that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The brunette claims to be Rodnane Yields and then bows his head to the young lady's father. The man apologizes and says that the boy has grown so much that he did not recognize him, and Rodnane has become as handsome as his father. The brunette thanks the owner of the tower and says that he is the same as the boy saw him in childhood, and a similar time passes by him. The father of the main character understands that the guy is really unusual, as he heard, because his appearance and manner of speech are very good. The man is very wary. He understands that he made a mistake and thinks why he even arranged a date for his daughter with such a young man. The man thanks him for such words and then asks what Rodnane is doing in this tower. The brunette says that, to be honest, he came to find out if there is a teacher for a newbie like him. The silver-haired lady's father asks the guy why, since he is already a swordmaster. The young man looks at the man and says that after his arrival in the capital, he saw many magical objects that make life easier. And magic impressed him very much, and most importantly, there are monsters that can only be defeated with its help. Moreover, it is also possible to heal, which can be useful in war, and then the changes will affect the entire Yell's family. Who guards the northern lands? The man thinks how, in a family that sacredly believed in the power of the sword, there was such a wise young man with deep thoughts. Kaiser's alertness level immediately decreases, and the young man says that the tower's owner once helped his late father. That is why he always treated him with great respect and gratitude. The main character's father waves his hands and says that he did what he had to, and says what a modest guy he is. And the young man only adds that the man is also a wonderful person who raised such a beautiful daughter. The Kaiser realizes that, in addition to his trained body and pleasant character, the young man also understands people and is perhaps much better than the man thought. The young lady's father claims that everything is correct and he has a beautiful daughter. The Duke then says that he cannot understand the man who hurt her. Then the young lady's father cries out that everything is exactly like that and asks Duke Yells if he thinks the same. The Kaiser says that he wants to tell a lot about this guy. When they are already heading to the office of the young lady's father, he tells them that the prince is revered as a war hero, which is why he behaves so arrogantly and, besides, he has a lot of problems. A little while after the tower owner had said everything, he thought that he felt better, and he hadn't even expected that they would be able to find a common language so quickly. The man asked if it would be okay to continue the conversation at his estate over dinner. The brunette says that it will be an honor for him, and he will definitely come. The Kaiser says goodbye to him and says that they will meet in the evening. Now the main character is sitting with Cordelia, and the girl understands that something is wrong there. So she asks the young lady to answer honestly. She knows that if this is the same Yvonne Argentros, she should be angry and out of control by now. But the young lady only calmly asks if this is all the princess wanted to talk about. Cordelia is shocked by this, and the young lady says that she was just curious because the princess arrived at such an early hour, so the girl thought that she had some serious business. The main character only wonders if the girl is testing her, because judging by this strange manner of speech, it feels like Yvonne is interrogating her. But who knows, maybe this girl is much more dangerous than she thinks, so the princess decides that she needs to get rid of her before things go too far. The brunette screams what could be more important than this, and claims that it seems the young lady still hasn't understood the whole essence of the situation, and although she can say that she didn't have any intentions, who will believe her words? After all, she is the very villain who is ready to do anything just to get the prince. There are already rumors in high society that she is using the Duke of Yells for her own selfish purposes. The brunette asks why she and the prince and Duke of Yells should suffer because of her alone. Cordelia tells her to answer directly unless she is one of those who likes a tarnished reputation. The princess understands that if she adds fuel to the fire to anger the girl and make her go crazy, then she will destroy herself. The brunette thinks that, as she always does, she will destroy what is bothering her, burn and break it, so that it goes away on its own. The main character thinks that she will make a criminal out of the young lady who tried twice to kill the future wife of the crown prince. And what could be better than such an ending? Yvonne raises her hand, and the main character becomes a little wary. She understands that the girl has been caught and is now going to ruin her own life. But the main character just sticks a fork into the cake. She claims that of course it's a pity that such rumors are circulating. But she just told the whole truth about her feelings. Cordelia is shocked to realize that her plan did not work. Yvonne claims that the most important thing is that the prince has such a sweet bride, and he pays absolutely no attention to her. Then the lady with silver hair asks, "Why be so afraid?" She takes the teapot and says that if there are any problems, then the princess would be better off talking to the prince about it personally. And you shouldn't involve strangers in your affairs. The main character blushes and screams from this. But then Barden comes into the room and says that's enough. He claims that he was passing by and accidentally overheard their conversation, so if the lady continues to insult his sister, he won't tolerate it any longer. The brunette thinks that the guy himself treated his sister as if she didn't exist, and now he's suddenly pretending to be a caring brother. But the girl understands that nothing can be done, and she will have to retreat, so Cordelia needs to come up with another plan to harm the girl. The brunette says that she is ashamed of her behavior because she could not control her emotions and allowed herself to go too far, although this is just an excuse. But she was confused by this gift from the prince. The main character, looking at the box, asks what is in it, and the girl claims that there is a gift there which the prince gave her through a maid. Barden only asks what this has to do with the current situation. Cordelia, with a sad expression on her face, says that this gift was not intended for her because the young lady herself will understand this when she reads the note, because it is her gift. Barden just looks at the box with confusion, and the main character says that she will not justify her behavior. But she wants them to know that she had no ill intentions towards the young lady, so she bows and leaves. Yvonne and her brother just watch the main character, after which Barden turns to the young lady. He asks how his sister put up with this with her character. The princess even leaves there alive. Yvonne just smiles in response to this. She says that it's all thanks to her brother. After all, he couldn't find a place for himself standing behind the door, so the girl was afraid that if he did something, the guy would lose consciousness. Barden just asks how she found out and when she realized it. But the young lady only says that she has good hearing, and she forgives the young man for eavesdropping, but only today. And in her thoughts she adds that these are not just words, because she is truly glad that Barden was there because she could say whatever she wanted because she knew that the young man would take action if something happened. The girl remembers that even she got angry, and the lady with silver hair is afraid to imagine what the real Yvonne would feel. She thinks that this meeting would not have ended with one conversation, and in the best case, it would have taken 30 weeks to fully heal from the wounds, and yet she tries so hard not to get between them. Barden heads to the door and says that regarding this box, the girl should not dare to open it and should give it to him because he will throw it away on the way, but the young lady claims that it is not worth it and she will figure it out herself. Then the young man closing the door tells her to throw it out herself because he will check when he returns. Yvonne is now looking at the box and wondering what could have made Cordelia so angry. The princess, while in the carriage, calls Pember, after which an evil spirit appears in the air. He asks if the young lady called him, and Cordelia asks what happened to the bracelet. Pember claims to have found it and asks if he should destroy the bracelet right now. The brunette says that if the bracelet disappears right after her visit, they might suspect her so they can watch and then destroy it when the opportunity arises. The girl understands that the bracelet has been resolved and only Miss Argentrose remains. The princess heard that she had changed a lot but thought that it was all a trick. The prince asked the servant if the lady had been leaving the house for several days, and the young man replied that yes, she also reflected on her behavior and was careful in her actions. The blonde asked who would believe that the young lady was thinking and being careful because the girl was a dangerous person who almost killed Cordelia, so the service should not lose vigilance and continue to follow her. The princess understands that people do not change so quickly, but today, the lady she met was not like the villain Yvonne. Cordelia turns around and thinks that she is not at all touched by the gift that the prince supposedly sent. The princess wonders if she really is using the sun source, since it is a means of raising the spirits of stupid aristocrats. It was added to bathwater to make the skin more radiant. But if you use it constantly, the drug, on the contrary, can cause an unpleasant-looking skin disease. And the princess is the only one who knows how to cure this disease, that is only she can become their savior, and when they begin to praise her for this free salvation, she will tame the lady in the same way. Cordelia sighs heavily, and the spirit asks if there are any problems, and if he would like to help the young lady. The princess only asks what it means to help, and what the spirit is talking about. Pember claims that before leaving the room he saw something. After all, the girl also emanated dark magic, so he thought that the princess was trying to lure her to her side. The main character is shocked by this, and the girl thinks why she didn't think of it earlier. After all, if the young lady is a dark magician, then it is clear how she learned about the monster and why she heard sounds despite the barrier. Cordelia did not think that she would be a dark magician. The girl thanks Pember for the valuable information and tells him to return to the estate and finish his business, but he must be careful not to be noticed. The brunette understands that she seems to have found a way out because all she has to do is accuse the young lady of using dark magic, and the imperial palace will do the rest. And it is not difficult for the main character to obtain evidence, so she will definitely marry the prince. Even if it is necessary to remove those who are in the way at this time, the Duke rides past the carriage on horseback. The guy realizes that he has been invited to dinner and wonders if he is leaving too early. Then he comes closer to the mansion and thinks whether he will be able to see Yvonne today. But suddenly the young man sees a lady with silver hair open the window and then throw something. It turns out to be a magic earring. The Duke is a little wary, seeing how strangely it glows. But then the earring explodes. 15 minutes ago, the main character read a letter from the prince. It was written there that the young man was very sorry because Yvonne did not come to the tea party where he invited her, and the prince assumes that she was very busy. But he had been struck by the thought that he had been too harsh with Lady Yvonne, which could have greatly hurt her. Upset. Also, during tea drinking, he accidentally learned about this bath product, which is popular among young ladies, so he thinks the girl will like it. Lady with silver hair. Now she understands why the main character was so angry, because the young man was behaving disgustingly. The girl looks at the bath product and thinks that she looks at it, it looks quite expensive, so it's better to throw it away. But suddenly, from behind the door, the maid addresses the lady. Yvonne tells her to come in. Then the maid enters the young lady's chambers and informs her that a message has just arrived from Feritro that they can start making cosmetics from the Rhodia herb. The silver-haired lady asks if this is true and then says that this is great because now it remains to decide what kind of products they will produce. Carol asks if the lady has any ideas. And the girl says that she doesn't even know she remembers that the letter said that this bath product is now popular among aristocrats. And this is a great example of a product that will be in demand in the summer. The young lady is thinking whether to take advantage of this because rumors about new cosmetics will quickly spread. Then she jumps up from her seat and says that she has decided that they will make bath products. The maid says that this is a wonderful idea. And then he asks if the girl has a sun source in her hands. Yvonne asks if that's what this thing is called. The maid replies that yes, and this is the very product that makes the skin look like silk. It has become so popular that it is now difficult to buy even for a lot of money. The main character asks how much they sell such a product for. Then Carol thinks and says that for one bottle, as far as she knows, it costs about 10 million gold. The main character is shocked by the announced amount. She realizes that she almost threw away 10 million. The young lady puts the money back into the box and thinks that she should keep it and sell it later. The maid's wife asks if this is by any chance a gift from the Duke of Yale's. After these words, the young lady's hand began to tremble. The girl remembered the young man, and because of this she blushes all over, but she tries not to show it and says that Carol has a bad habit of thinking that everyone loves her. The maid says that it is impossible not to fall in love with such an ideal lady, and if she were a man, she would give the mistress gifts every day. The main character says that it is useless anyway, but then notices something strange. She turns to Carol and points to her earrings, which begin to glow brighter and brighter. As soon as the young lady saw the unpleasant shine of the earrings, she was suddenly overcome by a familiar feeling of madness. The girl grabbed the earring from the maid's ear and ran to the window, and when I opened it, she immediately threw out the earring. At that moment, she acted on the assumption that there was no one in the garden, but when she realized that she was wrong. The deed was already done when the earring exploded, and the room immediately filled with smoke. The main character understood that it seemed that Rodnane was there. She immediately looked out the window with her excitement. But seeing the young man safe and sound, I think how lucky it is that he is alive. The guy looks at her with only misunderstanding and some sadness, and the lady with silver hair thinks that this is really a big relief. But she doesn't understand what to say now, and whether the young man will believe that it was a mistake. The maid just comes up from behind and asks if the mistress is okay. The main character immediately turns to her maid and says that she is fine, and then asks if Carol was hurt. The girl says no, and thanks to her mistress, she is safe and sound. The main character looks at the devastation in the room and says how good it is that Carol suffered, but she should rest. The maid says that it is nothing serious, and she will call people to clean the room. Then Yvonne says that she is asking for a favor because now she needs to go out because the explosion hit the Duke of Yale's. The maid is worried and asks how this could happen and says that it is all because of her, and then asks if everything is okay with the Duke. Yvonne asks why the maid thinks that it is all because of her, because it was she who gave the maid the bomb, and she also threw it, so Carol does not have to worry about it. And when the girl closes the door to her room, she immediately starts running. She is horrified and thinks about what she should do now. Going down the stairs, the main character thinks about how she could have thrown a bomb at him. At this time, all the servants gathered near the door. Yvonne is wondering why the earring exploded at this very moment. At this time, quite a few people had also gathered on the street. Suddenly, someone told them to move aside. After all, the lady is coming. One of the servants says that the lady has never been interested in family affairs. The authors scream for the people to quickly disperse. Yvonne, looking at the area, realizes that everything looks intact, but she thought that everything there was destroyed. But suddenly the knight turns and asks if the lady has guessed too, because how can she see, despite the loudness of the bomb explosion, there is not much damage. After all, Duke of Yale's appeared just in time, and the cheese absorbed the blast wave with its aura. Someone cries out that the swordmaster is truly magnificent. The knight insists that they will certainly find the criminal, but the silver-haired lady mentally replies that it is not necessary. She hits the knight with her elbow and asks if he can step aside. The girl thinks about where to start and whether it is better to apologize first. She approaches the Duke. The servants at this time ask if the Duke is okay and offer healing, but the young man claims that he is fine. And then she sees Yvonne and smiles at her. The girl realizes that she hasn't decided what to tell him yet, but she is a little scared because the young man seems very angry to her. The main character understands that it seems she has finally lost her head. The servants gossip among themselves and say how these two are suited to each other. Rodney is still looking at the young lady, and the girl realizes that this is not true at all, believe the guy is looking at her sideways. But in fact, Yvonne was just imagining the worst case. The young lady asks if the Duke of Og has suffered. The guy says he's fine, he just didn't expect this. He looks at the bouquet and says he was going to give it to Yvonne, but while he was getting the ball out, the flowers turned into this. The silver-haired lady wonders why he wanted to give her flowers. The girl says she is glad because the Duke was not hurt. In her thoughts, she wonders if Rodney could have come empty-handed. She understands that this is a display of politeness, or thinks that this gesture should be perceived exactly like that. The young lady approaches the brunette and asks if she can take this bouquet because the Duke was going to give it to her. The girl claims that she just needed something to decorate the room. The brunette says he can go and buy a new one, but the main character says she likes this one and thanks the Duke. After which the girl asks why he came to the Argentro's estate, and the young man replies that the owner of the tower invited him to dinner. The silver-haired lady doesn't even know what to answer. After a moment of silence, she smiles and says that Rodney is quite early. The guy claims that he had some business nearby and quickly got free. Yvonne, she thinks that this does not look like a lie, but she does not understand why her father called the Duke, and even if it is true, the young man's arrival too early may mean some other intentions. But suddenly a knight approaches these two and informs the lady that he is the head of the guard. He reports that there was an explosion of an unknown bomb in front of the estate and asks if the lady knows anything about it. The main character doesn't even know what to answer, and the knight says that apart from Duke Yells, who was at the scene, there are no other witnesses to the incident. But the Duke also says that he knows nothing and no other evidence was found either. The silver-haired lady just looks at the young man in surprise and asks if he said that he doesn't know anything. The guy nods with a smile on his face while the knight stands there in bewilderment. Then the priest turns to him and says that the lady also doesn't know who it is. He claims that he will tell the knight if he remembers anything so he can check other people for now. The man bows and says that he will return to them with a report a little later. Then the Duke smiles and asks Yvonne if she can show him the way. The girl says that of course she will show him to the living room, and she herself wonders whether the Duke wants to negotiate with her about something because he might demand compensation, or he might start threatening to ruin her life if she drops another bomb on him. But the lady with silver hair is of course grateful to the young man that he did not accuse her in front of others. As they approach the living room, the girl realizes that she is afraid to even think about what might happen. And when they enter the room, the Duke asks if this is Lady Yvonne's private sitting room. The girl says yes, and she thinks that the sitting room on the first floor is too noisy. The young man claims that the glass is broken and that the shock wave was probably too strong, after which he asks if Yvonne is okay. The girl replies that yes, she was just a little scared. She realizes that she didn't even notice in all the commotion, but it's a little strange because no matter how strong Yvonne was, it's incredible because neither her hair nor her clothes were damaged. The Duke merely says that it is a great relief, and the girl asserts that she too is glad that Mr. Rodney was not hurt, and also thanks him. The brunette asks what she is talking about, and the young lady replies that he did not give her away, and this incident was a mistake, so she asks for forgiveness. The guy asks if it was really a mistake. The lady with silver hair says that there was a breakdown in the artifact, and she spontaneously threw it outside, and there was a guy driving by. The young lady says she thought there was no one on the street. The brunette asks if she means that the bomb was about to explode, so the girl threw it out the window. The main character replies that it is exactly like that, and the guy asks if he can ask why the girl didn't use protective magic then. Yvonne thinks that he is very smart, and yet court investigators are different from ordinary people. The girl tries to justify herself, but she has no idea how to do it. At this time, the Duke is just approaching her. The young lady is thinking what to answer, and suddenly she will say something wrong, after which she will be arrested. The girl thinks whether she should tell the whole truth about the fact that she cannot use magic. Suddenly, the brunette comes even closer and addresses the lady with silver hair. He asks if the girl could have deliberately thrown a bomb at him. The main character is shocked and wonders if the guy thinks it was intentional, but if she tells him about her illness, then perhaps she will be able to convince him. The problem is that rumors might start to spread about this, and then everyone who is against Yvonne will try to harm her all at once. The girl wonders if she can resist them, but if she doesn't answer, she will become a criminal who tried to harm with magic again, and this is not the first time. Then neither Father nor Barden nor the others will believe her anymore. The girl is silent for a while, and then he says that, to be honest, but the young man is restless and says that means he was right. The main character is shocked by this and asks what he is talking about, and the Duke asks if she tried to test him like that. The silver-haired lady doesn't understand what he's talking about. A little while ago, when the guy realized that he was not just interested in Yvonne, he wanted to become the most important fish in her aquarium. However, the young man spent almost his entire life in the Duchy of Yales and knew nothing about her. The young man felt the need to fill these gaps in their relationship, so he began to search for any information about Lady Argentrose. And the more he got to know her, the more he saw behind such eccentric behavior an attempt to express his sympathy for one person, Prince Adrian. The guy doesn't understand what it was about him that could make Yvonne want his love so much, and if the girl gives him a chance, he will be able to prove that he is worthy of her attention. He will prove which of them can better meet her expectations, and when I suddenly saw the light of an exploding bomb, I felt confusion, and at the same time, joy. After all, perhaps this is the chance that Yvonne gives him, because the prince is nasty, he is a master of the sword, so the comparison cannot be avoided. The brunette claims that whatever the reason he is not going to blame her, but the lady does not need to worry either. The girl says that it seems he has misunderstood everything and offers to sit down and talk. Then the Duke agrees. A little while later, they are already sitting opposite each other, and the girl realizes that it is to think that she is testing him, but she behaves very calmly. The young lady asks Togo to listen and asks if the guy said that she was trying to test him. The girl thinks why she needs to check the Duke at all, then the young man replies that maybe he was wrong, but he thought that the young lady wanted to test his abilities and the situation was just similar. The main character thinks what this means, and then wonders if that is what he really means. The explosion in Naziel, when she threw a bomb at Cordelia, well, then the prince protected Cordelia from the blast wave, but the girl does not understand what this has to do with the test. But then the silver-haired lady realizes that Rodney might have realized that she knows who he is. He thinks that the girl set up a similar situation and specifically wanted to check whether he was secretly sent by the prince or not. But still his calm attitude says so, that she can't avoid responsibility and can't hide from him no matter what the young lady does, so she will have to choose and tell her about the magical memory loss and give up her own safety or continue to be a dangerous person for him. So the main character turns to Mr. Rodnan and asks if he said that he doesn't blame the young lady for anything, after the Duke replies that of course he does. Yvonne still asks her to forgive him, because to be honest, she really was testing him, and the Mr. turned out to be a very noble person. The main character thinks that now she will see how kind the brunette will be. The silver-haired lady asks if he could not tell that man about it, and in her mind she adds that if he does not say anything, then no one will even know about her illness. But the Duke only asks who she is talking about, then the main character replies that she is talking about His Highness the Prince. The Duke's only response to this is to put his glass back down with a bang, and the young lady wonders if she has angered him. The guy claims that he can't understand why the girl suddenly started talking about the prince. The main character understands that naturally the Duke didn't like it because it's his duty to report everything to the prince. The girl understands that not only did she arrange a check, but she also made such a request, and the Duke has such a face as if she knows no boundaries at all. The silver-haired lady apologizes and claims that she didn't think and therefore said too much. But Rodney only turns to her and says that about what happened today. He comes closer to her and sits down on the sofa, and then claims that he will not tell not only the prince, but to no one else, after which the young man extends his hand. The main character in response to this extends her hand too, after which the guy puts an earring on her hand and claims that she shouldn't worry so much. After all, he doesn't want to see the young lady in such a state. Yvonne realizes that this is the same earring that she threw out the window. The girl understands that the young man is ready to do this, even at the expense of his duties, but she does not understand why and asks about it. The brunette claims that this concerns only the two of them and asks why other people need to know about this. The main character blushes at this answer and thinks that he believes that this incident has nothing to do with his investigation. The girl says that since the Duke says so, she will agree, and then thanks the young man. The girl thinks that it is good that the Duke turned out to be so kind, and perhaps he even sincerely believes that Yvonne can apologize. The brunette claims that he will then deal with the chief of the guard himself. The main character is already worried about this chief, but the Duke says that we must finish the investigation of this case, after which he puts his hand in his pocket. The young lady sighs because she thought that the young man was going to finish off that guard, and Rodnane takes out a communication artifact from his pocket and claims that he used it in the Duchy of Yales, so they can pretend that it exploded for some unknown reason. After which the Duke crumbles the decoration in his hands. The main character says that he told the chief of the guard that he knows nothing and asks if the Duke thinks that he will believe it. The brunette claims that to the young lady he is Rodnane, but to the chief of the guard he is the Duke of Yales, so it is natural that he will believe it. Yvonne understands that the young man will put pressure on him with his authority, and for some reason such care indicates that she is special to him. The girl claims that in this case she will feel guilty, and the Rao says that she shouldn't think so, although if the young lady is so worried about it, then she could fulfill one of his requests. A little while later, Barden is already screaming, asking Kuvin what happened there and what kind of bomb is in the estate. The servant asks if it is the master, and then claims that he has just finished his investigation. Recalls how the Duke claimed that the explosion was due to a problem with his artifact, and the investigation would be completed in the Duchy of Yales, so they could finish searching. Now the knight claims that there was an error with Duke Yale's communication artifact which caused the explosion. Barden says it's good that it's not an attack and asks if the Duke is okay. The knight claims that he used aura and softened the explosion without receiving a single scratch, and now he went for a walk in the garden with the lady. The main character's brother is shocked by this. He cries out whether they are alone in the garden. The knight does not know what to answer. And Barden is already running to that very garden he claims that he knew it would be like this and wonders why his father invited him. The guy wonders whether this disobedient Yvonne took his words seriously, because if so, then he urgently needs to go to them. The brunette walking with the main character claims that he told the chief of the guard to stop searching. The silver-haired lady thanks him and claims that she is ready to fulfill any request the Duke may make. The brunette then claims that she doesn't know what he's going to ask for. He leans towards the young lady and the girl blushes a little at this. And then she claims that if the young man asks her for 20 billion, she will hardly be able to fulfill it. The brunette says that he will not ask for this because the young lady can run away. The young man fixes the main character's hair and claims that his request is not very difficult. After which he asks if the young lady can call him Rod. The main character is a little surprised. And the guy adds that this is his pet name and he wants the girl to perceive him a little closer. The main character says that of course she will fulfill this request, but will it really suit the Duke? Yvonne wonders if the Duke wants them to become closer because if so, then she does not understand him at all. The young man agrees and says that this will be enough for him. The lady with the ribbed hair sighs. She does not think that the Duke has any interest in her because it is not clear what goals he is pursuing. The young lady agrees. After which, she calls the brunette by his affectionate name, but then the young lady asks if it was too sudden. But she thought that it was worth starting right now. The guy claims that no, and it's simple. But suddenly someone screams his name. The silver-haired leader wonders what kind of déjà vu this is. And when she turns around, she sees her brother running as fast as he can. Yvonne wonders if he's even breathing. When her brother finally runs up, the main character thinks that he looks like a fawn because Barden's legs are shaking. The guy claims that he rushed as soon as he heard the news and asks if the Duke is okay. After the brunette replies that he is fine, the main character's brother claims that he would like to tell him something and asks if they can talk alone. The Duke wonders what he was going to talk about and hopes that the guy won't say anything weird so he won't get close to Yvonne, after which he agrees and says that he just wanted to talk to Barden. The girl says that then she might as well sing. When the young lady leaves, the Duke suggests that Barden speak first. The young lady's brother approves. What he believes was made clear last time so that he would not approach his sister with frivolous feelings. Rodnan understands that the reason why the elder Duke of Argentros and his son are so against him, it is that they are afraid that Ivan will get love again. Therefore, the brunette says that he understands his feelings and why he said so. A lot of the young man can be calm, believing that he is not going to hurt his sister's feelings. Barden realizes that this smile has charmed him again, and the Duke at this time begins to come closer and closer. Rodnan asks if he can now say what he wanted. The young lady's brother insists that he should wait, but the brunette understands that he learned all the information about them so that he could meet Ivan in peace. So he puts his hands on Barden's shoulders and says that rumor has it that he is quite erudite in the theory of magic and also has the skill to teach. And hearing such reviews about Barden, he was convinced that he had found the right man. The young lady's brother asks what the Duke is talking about, and Rodnan realizes that he will attack these two first. That same evening, everyone gathers for a meal at the table. The main character wonders what these two were talking about since they all suddenly became friends. Rodnan at the table says that he believes it is necessary to replace the forces that have long stood guard against monsters in all parts of the empire. Barden says that this is true, but a lot of money will be needed to replace it, so many are against it. Then the Duke asks, how about Togo proposing this idea together, because it is all for the sake of the empire's security. Katzer says that the young man is so concerned about the country, and such an attitude instills pride and calm for the empire's future. The brunette claims that he is also calm because the capital is guarded by such outstanding personalities as the Duke of Argentros and his son. The young lady realizes that there seems to be a distance between them, but suddenly the girl hears some gossip. One of the maids claims that since the death of the Duchess, they are having dinner together for the first time in such a pleasant atmosphere. And the second one adds that she is also with such a handsome suitor for their young mistress. The girl thinks that this guy is not actually her boyfriend, and if he were, he would pay more attention to her. And the Duke communicates only with his father and Barden. The lady with silver hair is silent for a while. She remembers walking into the room and apologizing for being a little late. The Duke rose from his chair and told Ivan that she looked beautiful. The girl understands that after this he did not say a word to her, but he himself asked to call him affectionately, and now he is so cold. She looks at her glass and thinks that nothing happened between them anyway, so there is no point in showing dissatisfaction. A few minutes later, the young lady's father and brother were already drunk, although they had only drunk half a glass. The young lady realizes that she cannot watch this, and the Duke claims that they seem to be slightly drunk, while Ivan's father cries out that this is not at all the case. But the main character realizes that she can no longer tolerate these two drunkards, after which she finishes her meal. And she rises from her seat, she asks for forgiveness and leaves, after which the young lady sits down on a bench in the yard. The girl sighs and understands that there is no point in going back there because it is boring there, so she will stay here for now. But suddenly she hears someone approaching from behind, after which the young lady turns around and asks who is there. It turns out to be one of the maids. She is addressing the mistress. The girl thinks that this maid sometimes went with Carol. The main character tells her to come over because she doesn't want to strain her throat, after which she asks what happened. The maid bows and says that her name is Udella Rognil, and she asks forgiveness for her impudence and claims that she has come to the mistress with a request. Ivan realizes that the servants have never addressed her personally before, so she tells the maid to speak. The girl also notices that the hospital girl is shaking all over, and it seems she is afraid of Ivan. Udella kneels before the lady and cries out with a request to sell her the source of the sun. The main character asks if she is talking about the source of the sun, and the girl says that yes, and to be honest, her sister has been suffering from a skin disease for a long time, and she had heard that the sun's source was capable of curing any skin disease, but no matter how hard the maid tried, she was unable to acquire this remedy. The girl with tears in her eyes claims that she recently learned that the young lady was given a source of the sun. Therefore, she says that if the lady is not going to use it, but the main character interrupts her and only asks what she is talking about, and she herself thinks whether this product had such an effect. The maid apologizes for daring to ask her mistress such a request. She thinks that she probably crossed all boundaries and does not understand what will happen to her now. However, Ivan says that she understood the maid, but she is not going to sell the source of the sun, but she was interested in this story. So the main character wipes the tears from the maid's cheeks and tells her to bring her sister. After the silver-haired lady gets up, she realizes that she didn't think there was a similar product. But her business with the rhodia herb could go bust if the source of the sun can heal various skin diseases. Then why wasn't it mentioned in the book? The maid complains to the mistress and asks if she can ask about the reason why the young lady wants to see her sister. The girl claims that the Udella family are aristocrats and says that 10 years ago, the daughter of Viscount Rognil took lessons to become an heir, but the right to inherit the title passed to her cousin. And the daughters of Viscount Rognil found themselves on the street. The main character asks if this is a story about her sister's maid. The maid is silent for a while and then asserts that, yes, everything is true. Now the three of them live outside the city with their mother. The silver-haired lady stands up from her seat and claims that if the girl's sister was receiving lessons from the heiress of the family, then she must be very smart. And there is one thing that her sister can help with, and of course it is not free, because if she accepts the conditions, then Yvonne will give her the source of the sun. The main character claims that she would like to discuss the details with her personally and extends her hand to the maid. Udella agrees and says that tomorrow she will bring her sister to the mistress. The main character thinks that if it's not in the book, then she'll have to find out everything herself. At this time, the young lady's father rises from the table and claims that in order to continue their conversation, they need to sober up and return. After which, one of the butlers takes him away, and Rodnane tells him to rest. When his father leaves, Barden claims that he thinks about what the Duke told him during the day in a positive light. Rodnane asks with a smile on his face if it's true, and if the guy agrees to become his magic teacher. And Barden says that he himself offered it to him in the garden. The brunette thanks him. And the young man says that the Duke should not do anything that might hurt his sister Yvonne. The brunette only asks with a surprised expression if the young lady's brother really considers him such a rude person. Barden claims that this is not what he meant, and anyone would say that he is a noble, handsome, and exemplary gentleman. But that's not the problem, because the Duke knows why the young lady liked that lousy prince so much. There weren't even any decisive factors there because as far as Barden knows, they didn't really talk. It's just that when they collided and the prince apologized, who looked like such a clear and pure person. Of course, there may be other reasons that he doesn't know about, but what is certain is that Yvonne can easily fall in love. So the young lady's brother says he hopes the Duke has no intentions towards his sister unless he too is one of those who falls in love immediately. Barden advises Rodnane not to give her any hope. Then he puts down his glass and says that although, fortunately, Yvonne is not interested in the Duke at all. The brunette asks why the young man thinks so. The silver-haired boy says that the Duke's gift which he gave her on a date, Barden claims that he does not know what was in it. But the young lady claimed that she wanted to grind it into powder and drink it. After which, the guy claims that it could have been tea, because if so, then it's understandable. The Duke fills his glass with wine and drinks it all at once, after which he asks for another glass to be poured for him. Barden says the brunette seems to like wine. The agency replies that it's so aromatic today. The young lady's brother says that this is good wine and invites the Duke to drink and enjoy. A short time later, the young man empties another bottle, after which they finish their meal. When the Duke leaves the building, he leans against one of the pillars. The guy remembers the reaction of the young lady. It seemed to him that she liked that bracelet. But he remembers what the young lady's brother said and becomes a little upset. The young man wonders what is in Yvonne's heart, and maybe she called him by name by force because he asked. But if you remember, the girl always behaved very carefully in front of him, her gestures and facial expressions. All this could have been because the guy was a burden to her. Because of this, she could behave like that. But Rodnane thought that it was enough for him to be one of the fish in her aquarium. A little while ago, one of the servants asked the Duke what he said. And the brunette once again claims that he decided to study magic. Then the knight gets a little angry and screams whether he knows that using magic is against the rules of the clan. And the young man claims that he is now the Duke of Yales and is the head of the clan, so such things can change depending on the era in which they live. Then the knight asks why suddenly there is magic, and the Duke then runs up to the knight and fights with swords. At one point, he jumps over the servant and ends up behind him, after which he puts his hand to his neck. The brunette claims that now he can only control the aura, but if he has any other choice, the difference will be huge. The servant says that frankly it looks like an excuse, and the Duke just wants to have something to do with Miss Argentrose. The brunette claims that too. Then the knight asks if the duke's feelings are so serious since they only met a few times. And the gentleman had never been interested in beautiful young ladies, and now that he had suddenly changed, the knight began to be tormented by doubts. The duke asks what doubts, and the young man replies that Miss Argentrose is an outstanding magician, and perhaps she cast a bewitching spell on him. The duke then asks if the servant means to say that he cannot distinguish magic from real feelings, and the young man claims that this is not what he meant. And there are just rumors that Miss Argentrose is using the duke to attract the attention of the prince, so the lord should also question her behavior. The girl returns to the estate. She realizes that she wanted to put her thoughts in order a little, but so much time has passed. The young lady wonders if they have finished dinner yet and if Rodnane has left, but she understands that now is not the time to think about it and that she needs to return to the room first. But when Yvonne passes by one of the pillars, she sees a man sitting there. The main character immediately screams in fear and moves away a little. Rodnane, looking at the young lady, sadly asks Yvonne if it is. The main character thinks how he scared her, and she thought that it was a mercenary or a monster. The guy just looks away and says that he is Rod, which makes the young lady embarrassed. She thinks how cute the young man is and asks why Rod is sitting there. The boy rises from his seat and claims that he appeared before the young lady in this form, but he just needed to think. Then the silver-haired ladies ask what he was thinking about. The young man only approaches her. The main character notices that his face has turned red. The girl thinks that such a handsome man can be photographed from all sides and still turn out like a magazine cover, and it's good that in the past she didn't have time for celebrities, otherwise she would have become a loyal fan. The guy turns to the young lady and asks if she really liked the gift. The young lady asks what he is talking about, and the brunette then says that the girl said that she would make a powder out of it and drink it. The main character is shocked and wonders if Barden really told her everything. The lady with silver hair says that it's a misunderstanding because of course she said so, but... However, the guy interrupts her and claims that it means it's true, and the young lady says that she really liked the gift. It's just that the circumstances were such. The young man asks what the circumstances are, that the young lady is thinking about what she should do and how to distract him this time. The girl looks at Rodnane and thinks that he treated her without any prejudices and even helped her, and now because of her the young man has such a sad face. So the silver-haired lady thinks that she doesn't want to deceive him anymore and then screams that he is actually a she. But the guy just puts his finger to his mouth and tells her to be quiet, and waited because someone was watching them. The young lady turns around and looks around. But behind her she sees only the window of Barden's room and wonders if her brother has decided to spy on them. The girl claims that there is nothing to worry about and the Duke need not worry. But the brunette claims that he has some kind of unpleasant feeling so he needs to check, but the main character says that everything is fine and adds in her thoughts that he is just looking at them with his evil gaze. The young man claims that it won't take much time and the girl thinks that she doesn't want to create awkward situations. After which she grabs the guy by the hand and puts it against the wall. But since she is stronger than ordinary girls, it turns out to be more like a blow. Then the main character presses him against the wall and tells him to calm down, because she will call the guards to check. The Duke is about to do something and reaches out his hand, but then clenches his fist. And looking away, she agrees with Yvonne. The main character thinks that drunk Rodnane is quite stubborn, and yet he is so sweet that he listened to her words, but suddenly looking at the hand, and the main character, notices something. She sees that her wrist is a little red and then apologizes because she was rude. The guy says that it's nothing serious. And looking at his wrist, he is a little surprised because although it was only a moment, the girl got the upper hand over him, and Yvonne is so strong. So the guy thinks she has a lot of talent. The main character only asks if he is angry. The boy says no, and there is no reason to be angry, so the girl can grab him again. Yvonne asks what he means, then thanks him and says she won't. The brunette says it's a pity, then asks if the young lady was going to tell him something. The girl says yes, and she will tell him. But the young lady insists that this is a secret and must under no circumstances be told to anyone. Rodnane leans towards her and says that if it is a secret, then he doesn't think it's worth telling it here, and the young lady doesn't have to tell him. The silver-haired lady thinks how close he is. She says with a flushed face that she wants to tell him if the young man has no urgent business. Yvonne does not know what to answer, and maybe it would be better to suggest going somewhere else and having a cup of tea or asking if he would like to admire the moon. That's why the main character can't think of anything better than to offer the young man to stay there for the night. At this time, an evil spirit crawls out from behind a nightstand in one of the rooms. He thinks who this guy is. After all, he couldn't see him, so it seems that the young man has highly developed senses. The evil spirit understands that if another such person appears, there will be problems, so this will not work. He intended to wait another 2 or 3 days, but Cordelia had long since left. Therefore, it is necessary to destroy the bracelet right now, after which the evil spirit begins the destruction. But suddenly the doors behind him open, and the butler brings Barden in. The evil spirit wonders why at this particular moment, and the butler asks the gentleman if he wants to take a bath, after which he seats Barden on the sofa. And he claims that he will tell the servants to prepare everything, but he himself wonders why the chest of drawers is open. Barden tells the servant to wait and take the bracelet. The dark spirit watches all this from under the bed, and the young lady's brother asks if the butler can give it to be repaired, and at the same time restore the materials. The butler agrees and then leaves, and the dark spirit thinks that this is bad, but he understands that it is not too late. And he can go after the butler to destroy this bracelet, but suddenly he sees the main character. The evil spirit is angry and in his thoughts tells the young lady not to get on his nerves and to leave quickly. The main character asks the butler if he can prepare the guest room. When the butler agrees, the young lady tells the master that she will pass him, and the evil spirit thinks that it is that man again. When the Duke looks at him, the spirit thinks what is going on and whether the guy really saw him again. But then the young man simply turns around and addresses the silver-haired lady. And the evil spirit sighs because after all the young man did not notice him, but he understands that now he will not be able to follow. A little while later, the main character enters the room where the Duke is lying with a glass of water. She places the tray with the glass on the table and wonders if the young man has already fallen asleep. She comes up to him and thinks that she only went out for water. Well, it looks like the guy is very tired. The silver-haired lady thinks his eyelashes are very long, and the forehead is high and noble, the nose is also beautiful, and the lips. The young lady thinks that the lips are also very beautiful. She leans closer to the guy, but then the young lady's hair falls into his face. And the girl moves away and then screams what is she thinking about, and she needs to pull herself together. The main character understands that she needs to give the Duke a rest, and she will still have a chance to tell everything. But suddenly the young man grabs Yvonne by the hand and asks where she is going, because the girl said that she wanted to tell him something. The main character is a little embarrassed and says that he just looks tired so he should rest, but she wonders when he managed to wake up. The young man claims he wasn't tired and was just waiting for Yvonne. The silver-haired lady can only hope he was asleep the whole time. She says that he just slept and must be tired. The guy claims that he dozed off, but now he really is fine. But the young lady just pushes him back onto the bed and tells him not to get up. This whole conversation won't take long because she'll say it quickly and go. To begin with, the girl says that she wants to make things clear and claims that what she said about the bracelet with Tile. It wasn't that she didn't like him, but on the contrary, she needed a large amount of the Teal's crystal. The Duke asks if he can ask why, and the young lady notes that she cannot tell everything, but she really needs the crystal, but it is not so easy to get it. And yet her words that she heated up his gift into powder were rudeness on her part, so the girl apologizes. But the guy claims that Yvonne has no need to apologize, because now that he knows her true intentions, he is even glad. And if the young lady needs TLs so much, then he wants to give her more. The silver-haired lady thanks him for his words but says she will try to get it herself, and she thinks how caring the young man is. She says it is good that they have sorted out this misunderstanding and then states that it is time for her to go. But after the girl leaves, the Duke puts his hand on his face. He remembers the moment when the young lady approached him. The young man, all flushed, thinks that it seems he really has fallen under the influence of a spell. In the morning, the maid opens the curtains and asks how the lady slept. The main character wishes Carol good morning and asks if her ear is okay. The girl realizes that there are no earrings, which means it was not a dream. And the maid with a smile on her face says that, of course, and everything healed quickly. Yvonne says that she is glad to hear this, and also tells her to be careful in the hospital so that it does not fester. The girl rises in her bed and thinks that so much happened yesterday that it seemed to her like a dream. The main character asks what happened to Duke Rodnane, and the maid claims that he left early in the morning. And he assumes that something urgent might have happened. The young lady asks a little sadly if this is true. But then she thinks why she already feels so sorry. She tries to push these thoughts away from herself because she already has a lot to do. First, the young lady needs to find out why the artifact suddenly exploded, so when the girl has a light snack. Then she reads the book. She understands that because of her illness, and she personally cannot check why this artifact exploded. But in the book, there are diagrams and notes of Yvonne. The girl wrote everything down. The main character thinks that this will help you in the investigation. Yvonne was so meticulous and responsible, and in the end her life ended in such a terrible way. The lady with silver hair thinks that something is wrong with her. She thinks that it could be some kind of déjà vu or fear of death. But the girl understands that it is not so bad because she will definitely not die. Suddenly the young lady hears some noise in the street and gets up from her chair. And when they look out the window, they see that the maid and her sister have finally arrived. The servants in the estate are whispering why the girl is so wrapped up on such a hot day. The maid only escorts her sister and tells her to follow upstairs. But suddenly the servants of the estate begin to whisper among themselves. One of them claims that it looks like this is the same sister who has a skin disease, and most likely that is why she is dressed like that, and they also say she has terrible scars. But suddenly someone tells the two girls to wait. It turns out to be Barden. He claims that he was told that there would be guests today and asks who they are. The maid greets the master and claims that this is her sister Liana Rognell, who has arrived at the invitation of the mistress. Barden asks why her face is covered. Then the girl comes up and says that it is nice to meet her. She claims her name is Liana Rognell. The girl says that she wears this mask because of her skin disease. After which, she takes off her mask and claims that it might be unpleasant for those around her. That's why she put it on, and therefore she apologizes for being rude. But Barden only gets sick, and then they start whispering out loud that it might be contagious. And the maid screams that this is not a contagious disease at all, and that sister will be healthy. But the gossip continues, and someone claims that the Duke did not like the girl either. Barden says that it's not that, and that there's just been unrest on the estate lately, so that's why he asked. But then, closing his mouth, he says that perhaps he will go. The limited one claims that the gentleman is not in a good mood today, and that he is not usually like this. She ties her sister's mask, and Liana says that it's a natural reaction, so it's nothing to worry about. But then the girl suggests to her sister to continue on their way because the lady will be waiting. Walking down the corridor, the girl doesn't feel very well. She remembers her cousin who asked if she could really become an heir, and the girl looks so disgusting. After all this, the father told the young lady that she shouldn't be offended because he would provide for her, her sister and mother, so that they would have a place to live. Different people told the girl that she works very well, but visitors are not entirely comfortable. Others claimed that appearance is a must. Someone claimed that Rognell's speech was an aristocratic family and asked why the young lady wanted to work there, but then they claimed that it still wouldn't work. The only ray of light in Liana's life was her sister. She claimed that she liked living with her mother and older sister, but she always felt guilty towards Liana. The young lady is pulled out of her thoughts by her sister, and then the main character tells the girl not to stand there and to go inside. Liana bows and says that she is glad to meet the lady and then introduces herself. She begins to take off her mask and claims that the young lady may not be entirely pleasant, but to greet her without showing his face would be disrespectful. The main character is a little shocked by this. The silver-haired lady says that it's more serious than she thought and it's no good. The maid asks if she means that there is no more help, and Liana already wants to put the mask back on. But the main character tells her to stay without a mask and take off this cape because it is too hot in it. And Udell says to call a doctor there, and the maid immediately does so. The main character says that there is no point in wasting time, so she will immediately get to the main point. The girl asks to let Leon use her. After the young lady takes off her cape and mask, then he takes the contract in his hands and says that according to what is written there, and the lady with silver hair adds that Liana will be her secretary, and also the girl uses the effect of the sun source on her. Naturally, all this is paid for, and the girl will be monitored by a doctor until she is completely healed. Then the maid comes into the room and tells the mistress that she has brought the doctor. The young lady asks how she did it so quickly, and the doctor claims that the young gentleman has a severe hangover, which is why he has been there since early morning. The main character says that he only drank 2 glasses, but then Liana turns to her. She tells the girl that the proposal is of no benefit to the mistress, and she was deprived of her title, and the family was ruined, so why is the mistress so generous to them? But the girl Liana knew wouldn't help without a reason. But now she's not only willing to give up the sun source, but also wants to hire her as if she had another reason.